And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. They're open for sales and service Monday through Saturday. And of course, you can get a sneak peek of all their inventory, including what I have and I love is my CRV that I got last year. I've been getting CRVs for many years. Why? Because I love their gas mileage, and as well as the fact that the price to the gas mileage, pretty good. On top of that, the fact that the Honda product itself saved my life, arguably, when I was hit by a drunk driver a few years ago in New York City. So there's a lot more to Honda than simply just looking at that sticker and whatnot. I look at the quality of the vehicle and the protection of it. So I want to say thank you to Honda and Great Lakes Honda City. You can go and visit them today, like I said, and you can also go online to greatlakeshondacity.com. We're up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /Wake Up Call DT. And of course, we are with you on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. It's another edition of the Lazer Lounge coming to you here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. For many, many years and decades even, OCC did not get the opportunities that I felt like it deserved. And I remember having a conversation with someone in a radio station in Syracuse years ago who said, why cover these schools? And I said, well, why wouldn't I? And I've appreciated all the years. And the last time I was at that radio station, I asked two OCC coaches to come in and have my last show with me there because I wanted to let everybody know OCC matters to me. So thanks to Onondaga Community College for those people, those coaches, those student athletes that have cared so much. And I cannot thank enough the leadership of Rob Edson, and wish he was here today. But he was the one that kind of pushed it all with me in the beginning and definitely shed a light and brought a lot of love to a place that desperately needed it. So I want to thank Rob Edson, and I want to thank the coaches along the way. And of course, I'm very happy to have Ginny Marasco here with me in just a second, because as soon as I had the opportunity to spotlight a lot of different things at OCC, I wanted to go directly to the places that I really felt like should have it and have the opportunity to talk that maybe don't get that opportunity. And the world of competitive cheer to me is awesome. I mean, I'm surrounded by the fact that, knowing people and their kids growing up and competitively what they get into. My co-host for Two Mics No Filter, she helps coach her daughter's in it. And then obviously working down at Disney, there's these times during the year where competitive cheer literally just all lands from all over the country at the Walt Disney World Orlando area. So this world is something I'm really excited to get into and expand on today with Ginny in just a second. And then at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time, we'll have NeapoliDANS, an all-new episode with my fellow Italian, Mr. Dan Villari, who's going to the 2026 NFL Draft. He's fresh off the Pro Bowl, and him and I will have an opportunity to speak on the fact that he has now spoken with all 32 NFL teams. After his first opportunity at the Hula Bowl, he spoke with 18, more than half. And now he has spoken with all 32, 18 that he had, plus the 14 that he hadn't yet. So the whole NFL has had some time with Dan Villari, which bodes well for the upcoming draft, and I'm hoping the best for him. And then speaking of the draft, Thomas Pascariello will join me in hour number 2 of the League Winners to talk with me about his experiences at the Senior Bowl and in general, speaking with NFL draft prospects for 2026 all over the country. And we'll get into the college football playoff, the new Notre Dame rule, and more. So a lot coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. And now I am picture-in-picture with Ginny Marasco here of OCC head competitive cheer coach. We were talking a little bit off the air before we got started, and I'm happy to have Ginny with us. Ginny, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Ginny, I mean, I know you told me off the air, but I want you to share with everybody how long you have spent in the world of coaching competitive cheer.
I've been coaching cheerleading for 45 years this year. Starting with Pop Warner, moved into high school, all-stars, and now I'm finally coaching college.
And like you said, I mean, you've gotten to do different levels of this, and now you're coaching college. Did you kind of over the years envision, like, hey, at some point in my life, I want to get to the collegiate level? Was that a dream and aspiration? Is it something that just kind of happened?
I've always wanted to coach SU. I'm a huge SU fan. So
So you always wanted to coach over at Syracuse, and what is it about them? I mean, have you kind of gone to the games, gone to the Dome, and seen? I mean, do you ever find yourself going to a game, watching them, and then in your head going like, I would have done this differently, or I have a perfect, kind of way that I'd go about this? Do you find yourself maybe watching a group that's doing competitive cheer, and then in your head kind of scheming something up?
I've always wanted to be an SU coach. It was mostly because I was at the Dome, and I always thought there were different and better ways to lead the crowd. Today, I'm fully behind those coaches. They're awesome, and not only do they lead the crowd better than they used to, they are competitive now. So I don't have any complaints.
Yeah, I mean, you said you always wanted to be up at Syracuse University. Why was it? What was it about Syracuse that just kind of spoke to you?
There's really no other collegiate cheer real close to Syracuse where I could actually easily travel to get to it. So then, like I said, I was an SU fan. So
Yeah.
still am an SU fan. I'm very excited about Dan Villari.
Yeah, Dan.
He's one of my faves.
He's one of your favorite. Now, can I ask you why he's one of your favorites?
I just love his versatility and how he just did whatever the team needed him to do.
Well, I know that he'll appreciate that, and that will mean a lot to him. Down to earth guy, and in our conversation that people will see in just a little bit, we speak about the fact that he doesn't have to remember what he says to people because he always tells the truth. So, I love his character and what he's all about, and I appreciate you sharing that positivity toward him. So, Ginny,
but I look for in an athlete as well. So whatever the team needs to have done, those are the kind of athletes you want.
Well, and I want to go right there, because there's people that have said over the years, and I'm not saying this in a way to bring up any negativity. I'm saying it from an aspect of, I don't think it's fair when people say, "Oh, cheer or cheerleading or whatever." They say that this isn't a real sport. You've been doing this for decades, and there's people that don't believe that it has its own place in athletics, and I want to hear why you believe it does, and the importance of it, because I don't think it's a fair assessment, and I don't think it's fair to anybody that coaches or competes in it.
To those people who still don't believe that, don't know anything about cheerleading, and still all they really see is what they see on sidelines. And you're talking about competitive cheer, which is entirely different. We have to dance, we have to stunt, we have to throw people in the air, we have to tumble, all of which take a lot of strength and a lot of conditioning and a lot of preparation. Most of the time, this takes years to get to that state. Those college cheerleaders that are on the sideline make it look very easy, but it's not. And this is where we are different at OCC. We don't cheer for any games. We don't really have any sport that we can cheer for. So that's not true. We have two very good basketball teams, but they come at the same time as competitive cheer season. So our focus is completely on competitive cheer. Yeah. There's probably something else I ought to explain about that. Competitive cheer, at least at the collegiate level, well, it's not even just the collegiate level, it's also younger levels as well. When the National Junior College Athletic Association decided to make competitive cheer an emerging sport for junior colleges, what they were envisioning was not really what we know of in this neck of the woods as competitive cheer. We know 2-minute, 15-second routines. They have stunts, they have tumbling and all that, and it's all done with music, and that's over and done with. Stunting is a whole different world where they're attempting to make cheer more like other sports, and cheer is just doesn't want to fit into a box. It's a little different. But with stunt, they have 4 quarters. You do this, and then you do this, and then you do this, and then you're scored, and it's just the two of you going head to head, and it's just a whole different world. When Mike hired me, he said, "Hey, you can go to the nationals," and I was like, "Yeah, starting to look into it and said, but you know what? We don't even know how to do that in this neck of the woods. Number one. And number two, I don't even have anyone to compete against.
Yeah.
And at the collegiate level, that's another thing that we have a little bit of a challenge with is trying to find teams to compete against. So to wrap that all up, my teams focus on the 2-minute, 15-second routine that includes pyramids and stunts and tumbling, and it's all done at once in 2 minutes and 15 seconds of perfection is what we go for.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, there's different elements and there's different pieces to this, and you talked about the difficulty in finding people to compete with, finding schools to compete with. What have you done in creating the schedule and trying to kind of put things together here? I mean, how have you kind of tried to figure that out when it comes to, okay, the NJCAA, they're going to have competitive cheer. This is going to be a sport. It's something that, schools could do. But, I talked with the wrestling coach at OCC as well, and it's like you're trying to build a program and you're trying to find, who to compete with. And when it comes to the women's wrestling side, there's difficulty in finding schools that have that. So how do you navigate the schedule?
We have done so much networking in the last 2 years to try to find coaches. And that's another problem in the collegiate level. A lot of them are club teams.
Yeah.
And they don't really even have coaching. But the colleges that do have coaches, I've done a lot of networking to find, how do you do this? Where do you go? What competitions are there? And I'm starting to put together a pretty good schedule in that respect. But sometimes these are competitions that are trying to get up and running and get people knowing that there is this a competition and you can have more than one team there. That would be nice.
Yeah. And you said 2 minutes and 15 seconds you give your all. So what does this look like? Somebody comes to a competitive cheer event. What am I seeing in that 2:15?
Lots and lots of energy, lots of excitement. You will, and it should all flow together effortlessly. That's the hard part, making it look like it flows together effortlessly and just exciting to watch.
So for you, over 4 decades of coaching, plus, you are obviously involved yourself. What was it about cheer that spoke to you at a younger age that was like, hey, I got to be a part of this? I mean, I know what basketball did for me, and I go back and I say I was 3 years old. I picked up a basketball. I still remember looking at it. So what was that moment for you when it came to cheer?
I think it was really wanting to be a part of something. When I cheered in high school, that was one of the things that I liked the most about the sport was I felt like I was a part of something. And when I first started my coaching career, I was a DJ back in the day. And my very small hometown station. And my boss said, you need to do something to find yourself involved in the community. Okay. So I was reading back in the day when we did live public service announcements that the local Pop Warner organization was looking for volunteers. They didn't say coach, they just said looking for volunteers. And I said, that sounds like fun. Yeah. And the first thing they did was hand me my own team.
Well, and you said you were a DJ back in the day for your hometown.
Yes, I was.
So I wanna go back to that and what that experience was like for you. I mean, I know when I went to college, I got to jump right on the radio station within the first 2 weeks, and we had to do an alternative. Yeah. So we had to do an alternative music show where I was at 91.5 FM out in Scranton, and now it's 91.7. But VMFM had us after that. They're like, you can pick what you want to do. So you got to put a theme around it, create your own thing, and do it. So I have respect for the radio DJ world. I'd love to hear about your experience and what station you were on.
WCHN in Norwich,
okay.
AM and FM at that point in time. The FM was kind of the poor stepsister. And before that, I actually was at the college radio station in Oswego, WOCR. We were the powerful little carrier current station. Very proud of that. But I also, from that experience, realized I was not very good as a DJ. So I didn't pursue it too long. I went into the world of sales. So
yeah. And well, in the world is, I mean, when you're at a radio station too, the world of sales and DJing, they normally try to make the DJ also sell. When you're in that world,
Yes.
if you're under the same umbrella, kind of like if anybody who wants to be on the air, they try to get you to do something other than be on
Yeah.
the air. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's like you could be on the air for 4 hours if you sell for 40 hours. And so it's just kind of
No, I
interesting.
was on the air for 6 hours,
There
and then my one break in the afternoon at 2:30 was called Music in the Afternoon. The owner made us play classical music.
So I was going to
We
ask
would
you
do
what kind of music did you play when you were on the air? What were you playing?
we played whatever we could get our hands on. In those days, they used to give you a lot of vinyl, so we found, and occasionally we went out and purchased some stuff too. But Bill also felt like he needed to educate those heathens out there that were listening. So at 2:30 in the afternoon, he'd come in with one of his records. He was so cute, and his cigar hanging out of his mouth. And explained to me how to pronounce everything to make sure I did it properly. And then I'd introduce it, and basically it was a half-hour track.
Yeah.
The record just stayed on, and he would come in and correct me after I mispronounced everything. I finally learned how to turn the monitor down in his office when I was butchering all these names, and then I turn it back up so he could hear it, because otherwise he'd come in and ask me to turn it up anyway.
Yeah.
He was so cute.
Well, it's definitely it's amazing, and those of us that have gotten to sit in those rooms and experience you were, I mean, it's kind of like a club, right? It's like an unspoken
Yeah.
club of people that we just get it. We get, certain things about the boards, and there's just ways to do it, and you see a board and it's different, but they're all the same because they can all essentially achieve what you need them to achieve. But I think that that's really cool that you got to experience that. Did you have a DJ name or no?
Um, I couldn't come up with a good one. That's another reason why. And when I first started on WCHN, I used my real name because they figured I was well enough known in the area. I had lots of relatives too in the area, so they would just as soon have my real name. When the station was sold, he tried to get me to use my middle name. And I really don't want to share it right this moment. And it just sounded awful. But the weird thing was there was another Ginny at the radio station too, and she and I apparently sounded absolutely alike.
Okay.
We couldn't hear it, but she and I would send me, when you do those two-person commercials where we were talking to each other, apparently we sounded like one person talking to themselves. So we stopped doing that. And she was a better DJ than me too. So,
Well, I can say that I did come up with a DJ. Well, so when we were
what
in
did you come up with?
when we were in Scranton at Marywood University, there's a jail in the city of Scranton, in the middle of the city. It looks really pretty on one side of it, at least. But it's 4 minutes away. And so they said, you cannot use your real names because for whatever reason, the inmates listen to the radio station. And we don't want the inmates to know your name. God forbid they get out, blah, blah, blah. By the way, while I was in college, somebody did get out. But so we had to use something else, and not essentially like change my name from Dan Tortora to, Dan whatever, but we had to come up with just a name. So I came up with a nickname from the X-Men characters that I love. And when I saw the movie, when I think I was a junior in high school, and there's a scene where Iceman has his girlfriend and Rogue kisses him, and she turns and blows out cold air and she says, cool. And I was like, that's it. I'm Iceman. So I actually took Iceman as my name on the radio station. And I found the mug over these last few years that had all like the chilled icicles on it and whatnot. So I was Iceman. But when I went into professional, like you said, people said, use your name. I was asked by my producer, he was like, your last name is so unique. Are you cool keeping it? And I was like, yeah, I never thought I would get rid of it. So they just asked me to use my name. Ironically, I was in Scranton on the other side of the prison, still a few minutes away, but I was using my real name at that time. So yeah, I mean, nobody called me from the jail, so that was good. But but Jenny, to go from music back to cheer, something that has to do with the music of it all is bring me into that element of it, right? The musical side of it and what we get to see in that world. When you're putting components and different things together, when people are talking about the world of cheer and it comes to, making sure that you put together something that truly just hits and makes sense and is good. Bring me into the musical side of it, even in just growing up through it and how people tried to essentially choreograph all the way through.
That's another field that I am not as good at, so I brought in professional assistants. I mean, I used to do these routines by myself, and they were simple, and you could cut up music. You can't do that anymore. You have to have licensing rights and all those kinds of good things, and a good choreographer will work either with you or get your 8-count sheets afterwards after the routine is already kind of put together, and arrange the music to flow with your routine the way it's going, and it'll give you special sound effects at specific times, whether you like hit a basket toss or something. Even we have a one man, and when they hit the top, they put the crown on, which is a big thing these days. And then they pop off. It just, all that stuff adds to the entertainment value. And the music, being the pace that it is usually pretty fast, adds to the excitement.
Yeah, and like you said, when you're choreographing a routine, I mean it's difficult, and it's you have to get everything. It's it's so many different things are doing, right? Music videos are doing their own thing when you're putting a commercial together, and then when you're doing a routine, there's and the reason why I bring up those three things that are different but similar is that there's little things that you'll hear when you're putting an arrangement together where you're like, this has to be like, they have to do this exactly when this thing hits, and you have to hit it perfectly. You can't have that, kind of bang in the song and then this doesn't happen. So, I mean, you could spend hours, days, months trying to make sure that everything flows in the right place at the right time perfectly.
And we do.
Right. And you're going to hear it. And somebody else might be watching and go, oh, that was great. And you're sitting there going, we missed that by a half of a millisecond. So, I mean, like you said, you practice it so often. Bring me into that.
You really have to make sure that you work on the timing. So not only does everybody hit together, but everybody hits together where they're supposed to be hitting and counts. And that's probably the most challenging part of putting together a competition routine.
Yeah, and like you said, everybody doing it in unison when they're supposed to be doing it. And I watch, and I guess it's from being around, sporting events and whatnot for so long, but I'll look to see when everybody's supposed to do something, did they all do it? And then you'll see one person that kind of like in the everyone maybe did this, and then they come in and they kind of have to, but now they're into the next thing because they came in late. So when you're watching everybody, how hard is it to put your team together in unison and make sure that every movement, when it has to be the same, is literally like everyone looks right on the line? There's not 9 people and then one person kind of gets there late.
That's the really hard part, because you have to do it over and over and over. And it's really difficult to make them understand that I know you were off this time, but you got to do it again because we all have to be together. They get, especially nowadays, they seem to have a very short attention span for that sort of thing.
And when you look at the team that you have this season, I mean, I'm looking at the roster right now here in the studio. What can you say about the student athletes that are at OCC and who you do get to work with day in and day out?
And most of them have had some high school experience. This year, I do have 2 people that were at their first competition ever last weekend, because this is not a sport you can pick up overnight.
Yeah.
There has to be a passion for it, and you can bring a specific skill set if you're going to try and do it fairly quickly. The rest of them have just love cheerleading and are excited to know that they didn't have to give up that dream when they left high school. I have one who started a little late in high school, and is thrilled to know that she's still got another 2 years, and works her tail off as a result, because she's very excited to still be able to do this. And that's the one thing I think I would say to pretty much anyone who's considering, who is a cheerleader, who has a cheerleader in their life. You can still cheer at the college level. OCC offers that for you, and so many other places are not offering it, or they offer it as a club, which is definitely not the same thing.
Well, and to go off of that point, like you said, OCC offering opportunity where opportunity isn't in certain areas. And I've talked about this over the years about the benefits of having OCC in the community of Central and Upstate New York. What do you value the most about Onondaga Community College?
As a longtime coach, I have to say the environment in general. It's a very welcoming environment, and the athletic department's amazing. They've been very supportive, and that's not always the case, particularly for high school coaches.
Yeah, and like you said, having support, I mean, for them to open up the world for competitive cheer, did they say to you like why they decided to do something that other people aren't doing? Like you said, scheduling, it's hard to find certain places and whatnot. Did OCC kind of communicate to you like, hey, this is why we're doing it. This is why we see value in it when other people aren't?
Yes, they did. When they start the application process, they ask them specifically what kinds of things they're interested in doing, extracurricular activities, and cheer was always pretty high on the list. So they had tried, I think, over the years, some club teams type of concept. But one of the things I'll say about, and this is not to put down the club teams, but they're teaching each other. Not always an easy thing, especially with girls. Just saying. But with a coach, the goal is to get better than you were when you came in. Well, and that's one of the things I think we can bring from OCC. And that was one of the things they mentioned was you would be another sport, just like all the rest of them, with national title. They expected it of us, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and you said, I mean, obviously, getting people to work together. We've unfortunately, maybe we always were like this, but there wasn't social media to prove it. But we live in a very me-centric world, right? We live in a world of what can I do for myself? How can I help myself? I don't really care what happens to anybody else. As long as I get mine, I'm good. And you find that there is a strong divide that shows itself pretty clearly between relationship-based people and transactional people. Transactional people, I have no desire for. But relationship-based people, I'm all about that. Building a relationship and appreciating when somebody has a relationship and builds something over many years, to actually appreciate that road as opposed to what can I get and then move on. You spoke about, hey, my team has to help each other. They have to teach each other. They have to train each other. So bring me into team over me and what you're teaching in a world that on social media and in a lot of places is teaching the opposite.
Do a lot of team building activities with them, so that they are comfortable with each other in all kinds of environments, and try to really drive home the point that you're all in this together, and nothing works without you all doing it together. Pyramids are a great example of how nothing works unless you're all doing your job. And if you don't all do your job, that pyramid's going to fall.
Yeah, 100%. And so for you, those teachable moments, what have been some moments in your coaching career where you felt like you were in one of those places of saying, hey, if one piece of the pyramid isn't right, it's going to fall, that you felt like it really got through? A moment or two where you just look back and you think to yourself, they were picking up what I was putting down.
Well, I haven't got one off the top of my head.
Or is there a moment this season that maybe you felt like, hey, there's a crossroad, there's a turning point, there's something we were trying to get to, and then we finally got there, and then I saw the student athletes really see the fruit of their labor, so to speak? If there's like a proud moment you have this season, even if it's just in training?
We were talking, I was thinking more of one of my high school teams. They had been together all through the years, through Pop Warner, up through JV together. And when they got to me, they kind of felt like they had the whole concept. They honestly didn't think there was anything they couldn't do. And they got, actually, they set a bar so high. It was amazing. And I'll tell you, we had a skill in this particular routine that I'm thinking of that today is illegal, but they admitted it was a little scary learning. Because again, it's one of those things where everybody had to be doing their part or somebody was going to get seriously hurt. There's a reason why it's illegal today. Because like I said, if everybody wasn't doing what they were supposed to, somebody was going to get seriously hurt. And then they got to the point where they would perform it and the crowd would literally gasp.
Yeah.
And they'd get such a kick out of that because we just did something so darn impressive, all of us together. And that was probably one of that was one of my fun groups too. I still think of them very fondly. But like I said, that's that skill that really would make the crowd gasp. And it's hard to get a crowd to gasp today, but they would get such a kick out of that.
Yeah, when you get people to say like, I didn't know that human beings could do that. Kylie Barrett wrote a message in to us. She said, Coach Ginny changed my life in many ways. So thankful for her. I wanted to share that with you because I just
Love
saw
you, Kai. Kai is one of those kids on that team. She's probably said she was probably one of the ones I was thinking of.
So, I mean, can you share with us what this now illegal thing is?
It was what we call the flyover, because we didn't know what else to call it. I had two stunt groups on each side of the mat, and the side bases came into the middle and still held on to their flyer's foot. And the rest of the two groups would throw their flyer over to the other side of the mat. The two flyers would cross each other in the air and land on the opposite side. But the girls that threw their flyer were also catching the next one that was coming across. And today you have to be able to, you can't be doing a stunt before you're going to be a new base catching a new flyer is what I'm trying to say. So that part, they're throwing and catching almost instantaneously. That's the part that was illegal. And I'll tell you, when they did the progressions right up to it, and when they did it, and like I said, the crowd would gasp. We did it first. We had a problem getting our whole team together the week before sectionals. This was a sectional win. And we decided we'd try to practice before we left for sectionals and do at least one good run through because we hadn't done it with the whole team together. And the basketball coach wouldn't let us have the gym to practice, the boys basketball coach. So he said, go into the little gym and they weren't even in season yet. Go in the little gym and let the girls coach, see if he'll give you time. He said, sure, but you got to let us watch. We said, okay, no problem. So we didn't even bother getting the mats out because we didn't want to take the time. Yeah. That's how confident they were with that stunt. Also didn't know it was illegal at the time. Well, it wasn't at the time illegal, but we didn't know how truly dangerous it actually was. And when they did that flyover and all the basketball girls went, whoa, we're so in. We got this.
Well, and
was probably the best feeling in the world for them, was to see classmates actually be that impressed with what they were doing.
Well, and you see people, walking in a parking lot and throw a football to themselves and they don't get under it to catch it. So when they're throwing a human being and they're running, how are they catching them? Are they catching them just kind of like, by the waist when they come down? So they're running, turning around, and then just like setting them back down on the ground. How is the catch?
We call it a cradle in this particular case, and this is the way a lot of them come down.
Okay.
In this case, the flyer actually turns sideways, so the one girl could get underneath her arms, and the other two could catch the sides. And that's and the other base who had her foot to begin with never let go.
Okay. So, yeah, because I'm just thinking about you're throwing them in the air, and then you want to make sure when they come down that, they don't break an ankle or something like that. But this
They don't want to break anything at all.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Now I kind of want to see it. Why is it illegal? I mean, I get why it's illegal, but like, why? You know what I mean? Like,
because it's very dangerous to be trying to throw her far enough away with enough height and energy to catch the visual and still be able to catch another body that's coming your way. And the one group kind of had to come forward a little bit to catch the flyer who was in the front, and the other group had to back up a little bit to catch the flyer that was coming in the backside. If that makes sense. You've got one coming crossing in the front, and you didn't want to hit those flyers either. That was kind of you wanted it to be close enough to look visually good, but you didn't really want them smashing into each other in the air either. That wouldn't have been pretty.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, I mean, I get why it's illegal, but at the same time, it's like, man, if you could pull it off, like you said, when they pulled it off, it was so cool. So,
especially back then.
Yeah. And that was amazing.
Now they do this crap all the time, and it's not even, that was at the high school level. What the college kids can do. And my kids are always, can we try this? Can we try this? Can we try this?
Are there illegal moves?
The nicer that is too.
Yeah. Are there illegal moves in college?
Well, we're an intermediate team, so there are things that we're not supposed to do on the competition floor.
Okay.
That doesn't mean we don't try them once in a while.
I just want to go to Ginny's practice now, because now you've sold me. So Ginny Marasco here, OCC head competitive cheer coach. We do a thing on the show called Rapid Fire where we get to put each other on the hot seat. We can talk about any topic, and so we just kind of do it in the moment, and it's just back and forth. So you get to go first, then I'll go second. You can ask me any question, any topic. Doesn't have to be sports, could be anything. What do you have for me, Ginny?
I'm not really sure how this works. So ask you anything?
Any question, any topic. Could be music, movies, food, pastimes, anything.
Okay. Music. What's your favorite band?
Probably knee-jerk reaction is Journey. So I got to go with Journey. They're just incredible, and I've seen them twice, and God gave those voices. That's what I'm going to say. My question, Steve Perry, Arnel Pineda, everybody's a part of it. My question back to you, Ginny, if you came out to a song right now, like you were cheering today, and you had to pick a song, and that was your song, that was like the entrance of Ginny Marasco, what song would it be?
Why does Born in the USA sound like it should be my thing? Because when I said music, of course, Bruce is my thing.
Okay.
And that's why that popped into my head the fastest, I think.
Okay. Born in the USA. What's your question?
Yep.
What's your next one for me?
What's your favorite sport to play?
Basketball. Gotta be. Played it yesterday. And my job yesterday was to play basketball with Brandon Trish and then talk with him about it. So that's insane. And the little kid in me, there's a lot of things that I have worked toward in my life, but to know that that's part of my job now, just hang out with professional players and collegiate guys who are just wonderful human beings, and Brandon being one of them. And we played half-court knockout yesterday. And stay tuned, folks, because that video is really cool. But that was a lot of fun. And I'm not going to say more about it, but it was a lot of fun. But no, basketball my whole life. And I'm getting back into it now. And I don't know. I feel like I was missing a part of me now that I'm back on the court. My question back to you, Ginny. favorite memory when you were an athlete cheering?
It's funny you mentioned that. It was one of those days at a football game when it was miserable and cold, and we were soaked right to the skin, and it was just awful. I went home and soaked in a tub and went, yeah, that was fun. I
Okay.
was saying this to my kids the other day that a lot of what you're going to remember about cheerleading is not whether you got trophies or not whether we were going over some score sheets, and it's not going to be your score sheets. It's going to be that feeling you got when you took the mat, or that feeling you got when your teammates realized that they really could pull through and do something that they didn't think they could do before. Those are the things that are gonna the memories are probably not going to be on the competition floor. There might be some, but like that kind of an experience where we were just all just so cold and wet, kind of stuck with me all these years.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because when I played flag football and I put this league together with, listeners of the show and whatnot, and we went out and played. My favorite game, and really the only one that I truly remember, is the game where it rained for 4 hours and I was drenched, but I loved every second of it. My hat was like just stuck, like it was literally just keeping a little bit of rain off of my face. But we played for like 4 hours in that thing, and I just thought to myself, like, this was the greatest game I've ever played. And then the other one that I remember is when we played in a church parking lot and there was snow and ice and the entire end zone was ice, and I went to try and intercept the ball or defend somebody and I almost did a full split. Like, those are the ones that I remember, are like all the dangerous, terrible weather games are the ones that you remember. So I think it's funny that you say that. Mike, what's your last one for me?
Well, you mentioned you were a DJ.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you had to watch WKRP at some point or another.
WKRP.
Are you too young for that?
I did not watch WKRP.
Oh, that's so totally radio. Okay. Favorite DJ growing up?
Oh boy, favorite DJ growing up. That's a good question.
I was going to ask you your favorite WKRP character, but since you're not old enough.
Yeah. I would say, well, now that I'm looking it up in the studio and I'm looking at a picture of it, I'm like, okay, I feel like I've seen at least like the picture of them all together, but I don't think I ever watched the show. Who was my favorite DJ growing up? Oh boy, probably I'm gonna have to go. Like, I know I listened to Z89 and 107 and all that growing up, and 93Q, but I would have to say, and I don't, Ted and Amy, and I got to, obviously meet them, and Amy and I got to talk more than I talked with Ted, and she's always been a sweetheart to me, but I would probably say Casey Kasem. I got to say Casey Kasem. And then he made all those appearances on Saved by the Bell. So, like, I guess, because I just remember, I'm Casey Kasem. He had that, like, way he said everything. So I think him
the American Top 40 Countdown was must listen to radio.
Yeah, and I think, like every Sunday I was listening to Casey Kasem after church, and for whatever reason, I would always turn him on after church and breakfast. And so I'd probably say him, and then obviously, the famous Dick Clark. So, but yeah, I'll say Casey. My question back to you, I guess I want to stay with that. Who is your favorite DJ of all time?
I have to agree with Casey, but if I'm thinking of like who I used to listen to, who did I used to listen to? I am gonna give a shout out to my buddy Mike Frazier.
Okay.
He was the Oswego grad. Okay. That really made me realize that I was not a very good DJ. I could watch Mike spin records and talk on the phone and hold on a minute and turn the mic on and hit the mark. He was just, I don't know how he did it. And he always sounded like he knew exactly what he was doing, and he was calm and but upbeat when he's still on the air today. God bless his heart.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, though. When you love it, you keep on rocking. And I love that, like, when, someone's like, my parents are, we listen to this, and then here I am listening to them, and, like, they just keep going. Like, you thought Casey Kasem on the weekend, given his top songs, that he was going to literally be on the radio forever. Like, he was never going to not be there. He was just going to live to be, 150 years old or whatever. But I mean, that definitely kind of goes with the essence of who you were just speaking of. So with that being said, for Ginny Marasco here, OCC head competitive cheer coach, and the opportunity that we got to spotlight Ginny, her work, your reputation, Ginny, precedes you, because I only heard good things about your passion for what you do. So I'm happy that we got to do this. It was something on my mind months ago, so I'm happy it came to fruition. And I say God bless to your family, and I look forward to everything that you will accomplish here in what I believe will hopefully be your greatest chapter yet.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate this so much. We don't get a lot of attention in the cheer world sometimes.
Well, you should, and I'm happy that we got to do this today. And I'm also happy that we heard from Kylie, and that you have people that care about you, whose lives you've touched over the years, that, obviously paid some time today to listen and watch and hear what you had to say. So I look forward to what's to come, Ginny, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Take care. That coming once again from Ginny Marasco here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break. I'm happy we got to do that. I'm happy we had this moment. And, Ginny this was on my list. This was on my list. And it happens now, and, things happen when they're supposed to happen. So I'm just grateful that we got to do it. And it really means a lot to me that we got to shine a light on cheer. So, I mean, we talk about everything here, be it crew, cheer, volleyball, basketball, football, softball, baseball, hockey, field hockey, ice hockey, I mean, anything and everything. Did I say soccer? Soccer. So, what did I tell people? We've covered dang near every sport I could think of except for curling, but we probably talked about the Olympics. And I haven't covered cricket or water polo. So if somebody wants to rock with that on the show, reach out. So we'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll be back momentarily in the Great Lakes Honda City Studios with my special with Dan Villari, airing weekly outside of the fact of the week that he was at the Hula Bowl and whatnot, but airing for you with what we call NeapoliDANS episode 6 coming off the Senior Bowl. My guy spoke with every NFL franchise that exists. I can't wait to share it with you.
Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
And welcome here to this edition of NeapoliDANS, as we are here with Dan Villari, Syracuse Orange alum, Michigan alum before that,
and a tight end in the 2026 NFL Draft. He's hot off the Senior Bowl. Dan, how we doing?
Doing great, Dan. How are you?
Doing very well. So, just bring me into the Senior Bowl and just what you took away from it, the experience you had, and just how that whole event was for you.
The Senior Bowl, man, it was hectic, but it was you know, a once in a lifetime experience, and it was something I will never give back. I'm so grateful. Just a wonderful experience. Like, met a bunch of cool dudes, created a lot of relationships with players and coaches, and got to talk to all 32 teams. And the schedule was crazy, but it was so worth it, and it's like a football player's dream to be there. So it was good.
You said you got to speak with all 32 teams, and at the Hula Bowl, you spoke with more than half, with 18 at the time. So, what was it like to interact once again with the 18 that you had seen at the Hula Bowl?
It was cool because, I knew a lot of those scouts already, and they expressed to me that they loved me and they wanted to keep a relationship going, and we got to get into deeper conversations with those guys, and it wasn't so much of like an intro. But it was pretty wild how they set up the interviews. It was kind of like um there's like 16 rooms or something like that, and you would sit down at a table for 20 minutes. They'd bring the horn, you'd get up, you'd walk to the other room, sit down at their table for 20 minutes, and you would just do that for 3 hours straight. So it was like little pods, 20-minute pods, nonstop, like barely could get a piss break in, um, for 3 hours straight from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, you had the opportunity to be around so many teams. Like you said, there's not a lot of a break in between, but it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I feel like, you can you could deal with waiting for food or waiting to utilize the facilities when you know that 32 of 32 NFL teams want to know what Dan Villari is all about.
Yeah, man, I was locked in, man. The 3 hours felt like 10 minutes because every every interview went so well, and it's cool just speaking from the heart and just showing, telling people my story. Um, and a lot of coaches had me draw some plays up and watch some film, so it was pretty fun, honestly.
When you talked about drawing some plays up, watching some film and whatnot, bring me into that experience, like what they asked of you, and what they wanted to see from you when it came to film study and whatnot, and just how that maybe challenged you.
Yeah, I mean, one coach would ask me like, it's 3rd and 3. What's your favorite run play? Draw it. Draw the defense, draw the blocking responsibilities. And I would just draw it right in front of him. Then he would say, it's 3rd and 8. What's your favorite pass concept? And I would just, draw up the 3rd and 8 call that we called all year. Um, I would talk through the quarterback's read, my route, everybody else's route, what kind of defenses we'd like to see versus that play. I had a coach pull up film and ask me questions about defenses, like what technique is this? What coverage is this? Um, and yeah, stuff like that was the main thing with football, and it was great, man. I was waiting for it. I was ready for it. So, because at the Hula Bowl it was a lot of just introductions and conversations, but the Senior Bowl was a little more football talk.
Yeah, and you got to get into that football talk, and you got to meet with the other 14 teams that you didn't get to meet with at the Hula Bowl. So just, that side of it too, to have another portion of the NFL to interact with their scouts for the first time ever, and just what your takeaways were from that, and some of the places that are more local to you, like the Jets and the Giants and whatnot.
Yeah, I was I told the Jets, I was like, it's about time, man. But I had a great conversation with them. They were my second interview of the day. Then I had a great conversation with the Giants. Um, and I'm pretty sure I was talking to their GM as well. And he had a lot of great questions for me. Um, so yeah, I got to meet with all 32 teams, and it was cool. It was like 16. Um, what happened was what was it? Monday night, it was like 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., 16 teams. Then we woke up the next morning and it was 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., the rest of the 16 teams. So it was like, quick turnaround, wake up early and get right to it. But yeah, got to meet with the Jets and the Giants.
There's been a lot of fanfare around the fact that the Patriots had an opportunity to talk with you during the Hula Bowl. You told me some teams that stuck out, like the Vikings and the Chargers and the Browns and whatnot. What was it about the Patriots? Because it seemed like there was an article written, there was something out there about that. And so, I mean, was there something special of that interaction or any of the interactions?
Um, I think it was a lot. I had a lot of great interviews. I think that's just the Patriots fans getting excited because I
Yeah.
know they're in the market for a tight end, I think. So yeah, I wouldn't read too much into that. I think that's just hype, because I had mentioned that I met with them twice. So
Yeah.
but wouldn't read too much into that, especially this early.
Well, and that's the thing. There's 32 teams. You're auditioning for them all. How do you feel coming off of this, having now spoken to all 32, be it a second time around, a third time around, or the first time? Just how you feel about the representation you've given yourself to the NFL as a whole of the film that you know, the football player you are, and the human being that you are.
Yeah, I think first of all, I showed a high football IQ. I drew up plays really fast. I drew up the defenses and I explained everything pretty well. Um, Kind of told them about my quarterback background, how I prepare for practice and games, how I take notes, the routine that I follow every single day to a T. A lot of them love that. They looked at my routine and they were like, are you like getting any rest? Like, I hope, like, are you like, they were like, one team was like, are you going home and like passing out? I'm like, nah, like, that's just what it is. And that's why I told you, I have to be in bed early because it's a strict routine. But, and then on the other hand, just speaking from the heart is just so easy. It's natural.
Yeah.
So literally, these interviews are great and easy for me because I just speak the truth with everything, and I just tell my story, and it's inspiring, and they love it. They love the grittiness and the stuff I've had to overcome. So it's real easy, man. I could talk for hours with teams.
Well, and that's the thing is, like you said, it's you're a genuine person, you're real, you're authentic, and I've always gotten that from our interactions. So, like you said, it's not hard to talk about your story because you're not remembering a lie, you're just telling the truth. And having that time together with all of these teams, how much time did you get at the Senior Bowl to be around like each team individually? Did it feel like speed dating, or was there more time in certain time at certain teams or certain moments, or did somebody maybe catch you for an extra 2 minutes in the hallway and say, "Hey, I forgot to ask you this"?
No, it's speed dating. Like I said, it's the first night, then in the morning,
Yeah.
then they see you at practice, so they basically just watch you, all week at practice, and then there was some teams that you know, texted my phone, called me, contacted me afterwards to ask a few more questions. Um, so yeah.
So for you, all in all, Hula Bowl, Senior Bowl, we still have a lot to come up, including Syracuse Pro Day and whatnot. So how are you feeling about the representation that you've given yourself? I know we talked about it a little bit here today, but how did Dan Villari feel 2 months ago versus how you feel right now?
Uh, feel great, man. I'm happy that I played in two All-Star games and I did well and I showed people what I can do there. Knowing me, just being myself, I always feel like I could have done better at both
Yeah.
All-Star games. but I felt like each and every day I was better than yesterday. Next day I was better than yesterday, and I learned a ton. I'm around a lot of great tight ends, and I'm learning stuff from them. I'm looking at how they line up. I'm looking at their stance. I'm looking at their footwork. I'm like learning on the go, and I'm just getting so much better, like practicing and being around, the best tight ends in the country, best players in the country, and I'm absolutely loving that. So I feel like I'm in a good position right now, and I'm gonna go crush pro day, and then we'll see where that takes me.
You're the only representative of Syracuse at the Senior Bowl, and you were one of, I believe, 8 tight ends in total. So you talk about being around a bunch of talent, learning from other people and whatnot, just what it means to you to get to this point in your career, to be a quarterback, then a tight end, then a quarterback, then a tight end again, then kind of going back to quarterback, doing a little bit of everything. You're at Michigan, you transfer to Syracuse. We talked about how the Michigan thing came in last minute because they wanted CJ Stroud and whatnot. So you've been through all of this adversity. Then you're the only representative from your school, and you're one of less than 2 handfuls of tight ends. I mean, that had to be a moment where I would think you get on the field at the Senior Bowl and take a deep breath and look around you at the kid that people thought couldn't make it, but you know that you could.
Yeah, yeah, I'm that kind of guy. Like, sometimes I get frustrated, like, and then I just sit back and I'm like, all right, like, you've been playing this for 3 years. Like, these guys have been playing tight end their entire life. So just learn from them. And that's kind of what I did, is just remember how far I've came in these past 3 years, and that I'm here and I belong here. And but yeah, it was great to learn from them, and uh, it was reassuring, being out there with them, moving like them, and running great routes, and knowing that I belong here. And there's so much more to get better at. Like, there's just so much more. I kept saying I wish I played tight end my whole life. Like, it would have been crazy, you know. But I think I'm gonna get better fast. And I actually saw Jim Harbaugh on the sideline. I gave him a big hug, and he hasn't seen me in like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was like, tight end, huh? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, I could have guessed it. I was like, thanks. But yeah, he was pumped up to see me.
A positive response to adversity, a willingness to ad lib and to become the person that he knows that he can be, getting on the field, helping out his team. There are people that I've met over these 20 plus years in broadcasting, and Dan Villari stands alone in a lot of ways. So we'll have more to talk about in the coming weeks. But NeapoliDANS is here with you every Wednesday at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time, exclusively on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Mr. Villari, congratulations. Happy to hear you've talked to all of the NFL up to this point, and I look forward to everything that's going to come. I can't say enough about your hard work, dedication, and determination. So you know that God believes in you, you believe in you, and that's all you need. So keep rocking with the big guy, and I know that we're going to have a lot of good news coming up.
Thank you, brother. God bless. Much love.
God
Appreciate
bless you too.
Yeah.
Of course.
And now a message from Myers Creek Brewing Company, with locations at their Cazenovia Farm Brewery, Syracuse Inner Harbor Tap Room, and soon-to-be Lake Placid Tap Room.
Well, I think first and foremost, the Feldmeyer family and our team are extremely passionate about what we do. We care very much about what we do. The Feldmeyer family is always investing. Our taproom management team, our brew management team, our marketing management team, and all of the team members that get after it every day, they leave it on the field. They put their heart and soul into it. I know for a fact that everyone that works at Myers Creek wants to be there, and we want them to be there. You know, we want them to feel good about their job. And again, if you've never been to a Myers Creek, especially to the brewery, I mean, I want your eyes to open really big. I want you to see how big of a brand this is. I want you to see where we're going. The sky is the limit, and I feel very proud of that, and I'm very excited about that. When you think of designing a menu for a brewery, it's kind of open to a lot of different interpretations. I mean, you can do American, you can do Asian, you can do Italian, and you just have to find, you know, how that meets that pub style dining experience, that gastropub vibe. And I think it's super fun for us because obviously we know that, you know, everyone in the world's going to sell a pizza or a burger or a french fry, but what can we do to be different? And what can we do to be true to who we are? We are a brewery, you know, a brew pub. So the flavor profiles are kind of all over the place. And I think it's super cool that we have a massive smoker at the brewery in Cazenovia, and we smoke a lot of our products. We have a delicious smoked turkey. We have barbecue ribs on Sundays. From a pulled pork sandwich to a chicken wing, and you go to the Inner Harbor and you go to the Kaz location, and you'll find similarities in the menu, but also things that are a little different and also kind of fit those different demographics or different communities, and also hopefully just drive you to try every tap room that we have open at some point, because you get a little something different at each one. You know, we understand how hard it is to, you know, work every day and get after it every day, and when you're done at the end of your day, you want to go out and put your feet up in a good ambiance and good environment. So we take pride in that. We make sure that everyone knows that they're very much valued to us.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. And of course, you could see them for sales and service. And you can also go online to greatlakeshondacity.com and get a sneak peek of all they have to offer you today. So I suggest you do that. That's where I've been going for over a decade, and I put my money where my mouth is. I don't talk about partners that we don't partner with here off the air and on the air. So a lot of great stuff with Great Lakes Honda City, and we appreciate them very much. Shout out to Elijah, Malik, Mark, and the entire team over at Great Lakes Honda City. Who's that guy? That guy's been on the road for like 52 years at this point. He's all over the place. He's been doing his work. He's getting you ready for the draft and making me jealous being out there just getting to sit in like that cafeteria setting and hang out with all these guys from all over the country. That's right up my alley. So Thomas Pascariello, he's here. He's out of jail on X. It ain't happening no more. He's out of Twitter/X jail. We need DMX to come here and let him know. That's what we need. We need some of that coming out here. But they took the man out of jail. This is what it is. Italians are always unfairly represented in the courts. That's what happens. So he's out. We're happy to have him here. And you know him as the guy who leads the way for the league winners, who's constantly covering college football and sports in general. I know him as the always, just no matter what, alibi to Shane Barrett. That's Thomas Pasquarello. Thomas, how are we doing today?
Oh, dude, I love that intro. I'm doing fantastic. The brain dad fog has really been kicking my butt since I've gotten back in. But it's been going great, man. I'm glad that you have me on here, and I always love talking to you, Dan. So this is a pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, how did you spend your days in jail on X? How was it?
Not gonna lie, I was kind of freaking out a little bit. I'm like, dude, what the heck happened? Thankfully, I have a friend who works in marketing at X, and she ended up helping not just restore my account, but the original League Winners account, which I guess got suspended due to a bug or error. So we finally got the big one back too. We lost about 1,000 followers in the process, but I guess that's what happens when you're gone for a year. But I'm glad that everything's back working normally, and I'm able to communicate with friends and fans and players alike on X again, because that's the hub right now.
Yeah, man. And I mean, look at your friends, right? Oh, I just know somebody over at X. So that's a good thing. Look at this man, big timing on the show today. We're happy to be here together, and of course, Thomas and I just talked about this in the last couple segments. You saw it with Dan Villari about being relationship over transactional, and then you heard about it with Ginny Marasco. There's two types of people in the world. There's people that are relationship based, where they build connections with the people that they interview, people that they do business with, whatever. Like everyone has the opportunity to have that friendship and that real deal personal connection if they want it. Then there's transactional people that are like, what can I use this person for? How can I discount it, screw them over, and then never have to see them again? And or just hope that, hey, well, they did a bunch of stuff for free, then we paid them, and then when we screw them over, they'll just do it for free again, right? And it's like, no. How you treat people eventually comes back around, Thomas. You and I both know that, right? You spit into the wind, it eventually comes back. Or, you know, if every time you have an opportunity to do something nasty, you do something good, then that eventually comes back. And you and I being relationship-based people, you're not interviewing draft prospects. You're interviewing people that you appreciate, that happen to be draft prospects, that you love their story, you want to sit down with them, maybe you have a personal connection with them already, in the case of, you know, Stonehouse and whatnot. So there's so much to be said about why you do what you do. And I'd love for you to share, what is a league winner supposed to be, and bring me into relationship over transactional, and how, yes, you do a lot of work and you have a lot of inventory of things for people to watch and listen to, but it comes with the fact that you actually care about people.
Yeah, absolutely. So League Winners was a player first mindset mantra that I guess we have. We always, you'll never ever see anybody in my company disparage an athlete. That's just not going to happen. And once that does happen, those people will no longer work for me. And that's a promise that I've, made to myself a while ago. As a former athlete, now I didn't play D1 or anything like that. I was just a fat, chubby, undersized JUCO guy on the defensive line. But I understand a lot of what these guys go through my MMA career, and it's a lot of work. And the point of journalism and just being in the industry that we're in is, like you said, yeah, there's transactional people, and then there's people that really care and matter. And I always want to be in the latter side of that. And that goes into the interviews too. I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. My interview process is so different from other people because I don't look at any notes. I don't look at anything about the player unless I know them already, right? Because I feel like the job of the interviewer is to let the interviewee tell their story,
Yeah.
right? Because if I know everything about the guy that I'm talking to and I'm like, hey, well, you were D1, D2, D3, All-American, blah, 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 I feel like it takes away from what that person can tell from his experience because I'm saying it for them. And that's strictly with football. Like if there's somebody that I'm interviewing that I don't know at all, I will try to get at least a background. But
Yeah.
football, generally speaking, I know what a lot of these guys have gone through, so I'm more interested in hearing about their story, like what happened with them. Like, for a good example, actually, is Navy's Landon Robinson. Huge fan of him, by the way. There's maybe a handful of players I've taken pictures with in the past 10 years doing this, and he's one of them. But he had a very interesting story about how he originally was denied from the Naval Academy because of a nut allergy. He ended up going through all these tests and uh, and found out that he wasn't phylactic with it to the point where it would be deadly for him. And then he got accepted into the Navy. Now he's potentially going to be an NFL player. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that story.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was important for him to say it more than me just being like, well, you didn't get into Navy, now you did get into Navy, so how's that been for you? No, I wanted him to tell his story and how he approached it and things of that nature. I think it's very important for people to do that. And I kind of try to have my employees do the same thing. I want them to be able to ask questions that'll be good for the player and allow them to show their personality. Because there is some times where a guy, and I'm sure you've experienced this before, where a player is not as keen to opening up. He's a little bit more mellow than others. And it can make for a bad interview, quote unquote. But if you're good at what you do and you're good at talking to people, you find ways to allow them to open up themselves and allow them to tell their story in the fashion that they want to. And I do think that's really important too. So that's something I've been trying to teach my employees. Some of them, obviously, there's some people that are new to the industry, so it is a learning curve for some of them. But that's just what I preach, and I hope that we're able to give exposure to players in the right way. And so far, I think it works because me personally, I feel better when the family and I don't care. To be honest, this might lose me some money. I really don't care. But I don't care what the agents say to me. I care more about what the friends of the players are saying to me, the family of the players are saying to me. So when I do have these interviews, and somebody's mother reaches out to me and like, hey, thank you so much for doing that interview. My son looked great, or you're doing a great job. That means so much more to me than an agent being like, hey, you did a great job at the interview. Now we're going to make a lot of money. I don't care nearly as much about that?
Yeah, no, and I mean, I totally agree. And it was funny because when you do get to know someone or you get to know their story, like Dan Villari, who's just on, like people talk about, like he said, a lot of people don't know my story. Or maybe he thought somebody was going to ask him about something and they didn't. And then when we were at ACC kickoff and I was in the TV room and I said to him, I was like, you were at Michigan, then you went to Syracuse. You were a quarterback, then a tight end, then a quarterback, then a tight end. I mean, you've had this story, and then after that, a bunch of people in the media were like, one of the guys behind me was like, that was really cool. He said you could see in your back and forth like you guys really know each other. And then I went into the breakout room, and that same guy was like, let me take a picture of you guys together. Like, obviously there's a bond. And yeah, I mean, it's like, I'll never forget standing on the field with Dan and him telling me, like, I didn't want to do this. Like, when they asked me to be a tight end, like, I had to literally, I was not happy. And I had to talk to God. And the first time we were talking, we talked about faith and him, like, going to God, journeying to God. And then we spoke about it again in NeapoliDANS, and I'm finding out all this stuff that I didn't know about him or more to the story. And he told me, he's like, I cried in the office. I cried. And he's like, I didn't want to do it. So, I mean, there's so much real. And that's the thing I love too. Like when we talk about building relationships, like these guys will, and this, I mean, I think you'll get this. Maybe some people wouldn't understand this, but like, when they swear with you, like when they're just like off the cuff, when I said something to Dan about, what he thinks, and he's like, like I'm effing relentless. Like he and some people kind of look at me like, well, you let him do that? And I was like, I want him to be real. I don't want him to say, he's been censoring himself for years with the media training, and this is what we can and cannot say, and you can't tell people you're going to play this week and you're going to start and whatnot. When somebody's with you and they just talk, and when I'm on your show or you're on this show, Thomas, like we just talk. Right. I have no script. It's just, I don't send you anything. I say like, hey, these are the topics that I feel like we're going to go to, but I don't tell you like, this is what I'm going to ask you. This is how we're going to break it down. So when you were there, and I'm just realizing, speaking of things that need to be changed, that I totally had the wrong thing underneath you here. Look at that on live. So, but the league winner is head man, I'm going to say here. And so my apologies on that. I'm sitting here looking at this morning going like, I'm good. I stayed up late doing all this stuff. And yeah, so, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, when you're out there and you're doing these, and I got to see so many from the Senior Bowl, and I was just like reposting them and liking them because I appreciate the work that you do. Bring me into that, like how you set up, where you were, and if it was that you had to tell, like, hey, I want to interview these certain, like, how did it work out that you got to have the people you did, or are they just kind of cycling in the room like a Radio Row, or how does it work?
So when I'll go, I guess what the first one we did was the Hula Bowl. We set up a table. So there's a downstairs lounge. It was at one of the resorts. There's a downstairs lounge, but then the upstairs is where like the scouting interviews and the player interviews took place. We were the only media there doing player interviews though, so that was kind of cool. But I mean, ideally, we just found people who we thought were interesting. Shout out to my man Jeff because he was helping funnel some players to us. Not associated with the Hula Bowl. My man Jeff Rocker. Shout out to Jeff. He was helping us grab players because me and my employee Brandon, we were at the table. We didn't want to leave the table and have a player come by and just be like, hey, well, there's nobody at the table. So
Yeah.
he was helping get players over, and we ended up doing, I think it was 5 hours straight of interviews. It was 16, 17 interviews. And a lot of those guys ended up going to, either the Shrine Bowl, the Senior Bowl, or the American Bowl too. So that was really cool. Michael Heldman is a guy that we talked to at the Hula Bowl, and he ended up going to the Shrine Bowl. But the Shrine Bowl, so the Shrine Bowl was a little bit different because that one they have a rotating schedule based on what players they were going to have. So
Yeah.
let's just say on Monday from 2 to 3, there'd be quarterbacks, 3 to 4, there'd be running backs, receivers, tight ends, and then 4 to 5 would be like offensive line or something like that. So you could go around and there was a couple media there that were interviewing. So we got to pick the names that we thought had either an interesting story or were important to the mission that we wanted to achieve there, which is, getting guys who may not have the best exposure, getting them exposure, or guys that don't necessarily have like a big media presence, I guess I'll say, in terms of what they've put out. Like they don't have many interviews. So like Haynes King was an important one for Georgia Tech. Very mellow guy, very soft-spoken guy, but he was fantastic. Very great kid too. I really am rooting for his success. And he had a fantastic year this past year, and nobody really wanted to talk to him. So I was a little surprised about that. So I loved talking to him. Obviously, the Navy guys I was big fans of too. Landon Robinson, I mentioned him earlier in the show. Eli Heidenreich as well. We also got to talk to Stoney, Jack Stonehouse from Syracuse. That was fantastic. I had to talk to Jack because, I mean, half the time scouts were only at the Syracuse games this year to watch Jack.
Yeah.
So, so I wanted to talk to him. The Senior Bowl is a little bit different because they have new management in this year. So Senior Bowl is after the practices. Um, you'll get like a 5-10 minute period to interview maybe a player or two, but it's more of like a scrum. So you're fighting with, like 100 other journalists, which I'm not really a fan of, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I call it the beehive.
Yeah, yeah, literally.
Yeah.
So I prefer the Shrine in that way because the Shrine was just set up. You have that little section or at that time period where players would come in, and then for the final 2 days we got to request players. But for the Senior Bowl, completely different. Almost everything is a scrum there. After practice, it's like a 5 to 15 minute scrum, and then they have a media day. But this time, the media day, I guess, was in like this basement, and it was still a scrum, and the lighting was very poor. So it was very different from past years. Shout out to the aforementioned Brandon, who works for me, my vice president, for doing the job that he did there because I've heard that the conditions there weren't great. Didn't just hear it from him, I heard it from a few people. So that one's more scrum-ish. They do have, quote unquote, the top guys, if we want to call it that. But personally, I don't care if a guy's, top of the top and the bottom of the bottom. They're all at the same level right now. So I care about guys with the interesting stories. But that's kind of the setup. The American Bowl had a presser style media day where they put like 6 people on a podium and had a scrum. That one was very weird. I appreciate my employee Mackenzie Neglia for navigating that because that was the weirdest one. So they're all a little bit different. My personal favorite's the Shrine Bowl, just because they get a lot of depth guys, a lot of under the radar guys. I really wanted to see Dan Villari there, but I'm glad he got the Senior Bowl call up. That's great for him. And yeah, a Shrine Bowl, I think, and plus they do a great thing with the Shriners Children's Foundation too. They have a whole big meeting with the players from the two teams, and they talk to these kids who have gone through. Ridiculous amounts of hardship in their own right, and that was a very moving segment of the event too. So I really prefer the Shrine Bowl out of the four.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, it's being able to sit down with people and have those relationships, have those conversations. And, people ask me back in the day, and maybe you'll probably laugh at this, Thomas, but the two biggest knocks that fellow media have had on me in my career is that I ask coaches how they're doing before I ask them a question. I personalize, I treat them like humans. I guess that's a problem. And the second thing is that I talk too much. And I was like, I'm a broadcaster. They're like, why do you have to talk to everybody? Why do you have to ask questions to everybody? But see, I feel like you and I are similar in that respect. Like if you're in a room and there's 70 players, you want to get all 70. Not because like you're trying to, compete with somebody, but you're just like, why would I say no? You know what I mean? Like if a kid came up to me and I didn't see him play and I didn't know him, whatever, I'm like, I still want to tell his story. Hi, I'm Dan Tortora. Hey, I'm Eli Smith. I went to whatever, East Carolina, let's say for an example. I'm like, sit down, let's talk, and so I feel like you appreciate that it's like, let me reach out to as many people, because when is it ever going to be bad to expand your reach and to make connections, right? So you could say like, hey, I haven't covered Navy football in 12 years, but guess what? Today I got Landon Robinson, and now Navy's in the wheelhouse, and now we're going to, do more stuff. And I think it's awesome that of all people you mentioned Landon, because I sat with Landon at the beginning of the season when I was set up at the American kickoff right there in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I sat with him on my left side. That was a fun, and Blake Horvath on my right side. And, just having that conversation with those two guys and how they were with each other. But see, that part of it's fun too, because it allows these guys to go at each other, where they'll either say like, oh yeah, like he's the best quarterback, or he'll turn around and go, if he didn't have me on his team, he wouldn't do anything. You know what I mean? Like, so like there's that back and forth, and then you get like conversations about, and not necessarily them, but it's like, oh, we went camping and this guy can't pitch a tent to save his life. Took him 7 hours. Like there's things that you don't get. And I feel like anybody can look at stats. Anybody can watch the game, but when you build a relationship, like I'm sure your hope is that that's not the only time you talk to Landon, but it's, hey, I want to talk to you going into the draft. I want to talk to you when you get drafted. I want to talk to you after. I hope we cross paths. So, I mean, I feel like you and I are cut from the same cloth, that if I meet you once and we interact and we have a nice time together, then you're welcome on the show for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I completely agree about that. A good example of that too is his name's Michael Heldman. I'm gonna blank if it's Central. I believe it's the Chippewas. I can't remember if they're Western or Central because my memory is bad. But he's an edge rusher from who plays for the Chippewas, and he was at the Hula Bowl, and then he got invited to the Shrine Bowl, and I see him. We only talked once, once for like 20 minutes, but I see him and he's like, "Oh, hey, what's up, man?" And we dap each other up, and I'm like, "Dude, it's great seeing you here." Like we had an actual conversation. Same with Stony. Like after we talked to Stony, the very next day, we're all sitting in the lounge area, and Stoney's with his family and stuff, and we're watching the NFL playoffs.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there, shooting the stuff back and forth, and we're just talking football. So that was really great too. And it's just there's another kid too, Devon Marshall from NC State. He was another guy who was at the Hula Bowl. He ended up getting the invite to the Shrine Bowl. We saw him there as well, and same kind of thing. He's like, "Oh, hey man, like what are you doing here?" You know.
Yeah.
So I believe that's fantastic. I just love talking to, man. Like, that's the thing. We kind of do the same thing where it's before we even start the interview process, we'll be like, "Hey, how's it going? How's all this stuff doing?" Trying to sit down with them. I let them know that, like, "Hey, man, like with me, you don't have to worry about being like on your toes. I have an edit button for a reason. Have to, like I can do stuff for you, in that regard. So like, just everything's cool. I may even cuss just to like take the cuss off air to take everything like no pressure at all because I want these guys to be like when they're going through all of these um scouting interviews and Villari said it to you, it's kind of like speed dating, right? So they're just
Yeah.
going through trying to pitch themselves in the best way possible, and for me I just want them to tell their story. I don't care. Like they don't have to be perfect to me. Obviously, I'm not perfect. I was a guy who used to look like a Greek goddess in his prime, and now I'm a bludgeoned blob. So I know the ins and outs of life and how things can change. So I just want to be. I want those people to be authentic. I really want them to be genuine, and I want them to tell their story. And I've had the "you talk too much" comment thrown at me as well. But hey, man, like if somebody doesn't want to be the life of the party, I'm gonna be it. I'll step up to that. I'll take that mantle, man. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I just think it's funny where it's like, well, I heard you. I used to have people come up to me at ACC kickoff. So you're the name that I've had to hear for the last 5 years every Monday. And I was like, what did I haunt your dreams? I mean, like I just hit the button and asked a question. But the funny thing is if I didn't do those things, none of these coaches would know me. Like I would
Right.
have no relationships. Why do Randy Etzel and I talk now? Because I talked to him for so many years every week, making sure I asked the question. Steve Adazio, same thing. I mean, there's so many guys, David Cutcliffe. I'll never forget that Cutcliffe was like, it was something, I think it might have been a kickoff. And he's like, he started it off by saying, well, I got a face for radio, so I don't really know why I'm up here. And I mean, he has this dry humor, but I love it. But I want to cross paths with coaches like Cut. Like I'm going to put it in the air right now. God help me to cross paths with David Cutcliffe again so I can have him back on the show. But when I was at the College Football Playoff National Championship, I'm standing there and I'm looking at, like, I had already interviewed Kurt Signetti. I think it was Signetti at the time. And I looked to my right and I was like, is that Justin Fuente? And I've been talking, and I used to talk to Justin all the time. And so when he was at Memphis, when he was at Virginia Tech, and I always speak highly of him. And when I give examples about good coaches coming from conferences that people don't talk about enough, he's like the first example that I give a lot of the time, or one of the first few. So I went up to him and I was like, hey man, I said, I don't know if you remember me, but Dan Tortora. And he smiled. He's like, hey man, he's like, how you been? How's everything? I said, it's good. And we just started talking. And I told him, like, I use you as an example. I hope your ears are ringing all the time. And I was like, God obviously did this on purpose that you and I cross paths. I've wanted to talk to you for years. So, and he's like, yeah, I'm working at the CFP now. I have a new role that never existed before. And I'm the senior advisor for football. And I was like, cool, I'd love for you to be on the show. And he was like, all right, I'll just ask Rich. And I had talked to Rich Clark and had the opportunity to do that, which was amazing, and meet Brett Daniels and Rich in person and just shake their hand, which is important to me. And he was like, I got to ask Rich, but we should be good. And I was like, tell Rich that you're asking to be on the show that he was just on 3 days ago. But like, I didn't, like, who would have thought of all, like, why is Justin Fuente here? And that was one of the guys on my list that was like, I got to get back in touch with this guy. Cause I really, even if it's just to tell him, like, I love what you did. I use it as an example. You don't get the credit you deserve. And I just want you to know that, like, you to me are one of those things that I always go back to. Like, I go back to your work and what you did to substantiate. And the same thing with David Cutcliffe. Every time I talk about Duke football, 99.9% of the time I mention David Cutcliffe. I say he trained the Mannings. I talk about the quarterbacks that came through him. And, I just say he didn't get the credit he deserved. I call him the quarterback guru. I mean, that's just what I do. And then you go and watch the Mannings talk, and you watch that, whatever it was, 30 for 30 or what, or no, it was some SEC special, and they interviewed Cut, and they were talking to him about the Mannings and whatnot. So it's all about relationships, and it's important to have those. Did you have anybody that, like, blew you away? Like, you finished the conversation and you took a step back and you looked up at God and you're like, okay, I got the message.
Yeah, there's a couple of those. Mark Gronowski of Iowa, he was fantastic. I love that we got Haynes King to really open up because he was more soft spoken than I thought he was gonna be. Michael Heldman, I mentioned before, Central Michigan. He was fantastic as well. I mean, I talked about Landon. Eli Heidenreich from Navy he was great too. I mean, we had a really good bond, and because I was at the Army Navy game this past year, and I was actually in the end zone that he scored the game-winning touchdown in. So I had video of it, and I showed him the video, and he was getting all hyped up seeing that again. So that was great. Army's Caleb Fortner, he's a linebacker. He was fantastic too. We talk about just like candid conversations and stuff. He had this great story that in the bathroom at Army in the urinals they have the urinal cups, and one is the Air Force logo and one is the Navy logo. So I thought that was hilarious too. Like that's some stuff that you just wouldn't know otherwise, without being able to talk to the guys.
Yeah.
Sit down with them. I thought that was fantastic. There's a lot of really cool people, man. But those I think would probably probably be my top ones. There was a kid from UCLA too, an offensive tackle at the Hula Bowl, but I'm going to blank on his name right now, so I do apologize to him in advance. I'm sure it'll come up eventually. But there was a lot of great players. It was a tremendous experience. I think we ended up totaling something like about 50, 46 interviews, something along those lines, probably more. So it was fun. It was great.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny because a lot of the guys that you mentioned that stood out to you, like those are guys that I got to cross paths with a bunch of them. So it's like that's cool and that's awesome. And I mean, it's fun, right? Our job is fun. We get to talk for a living. We get to go to games, sit there, and watch what millions of people are watching, but do it as a job. I mean, I think about that. It's like my job in Miami was to just talk to coaches, talk to players in incredible environments. And then in the middle of all that, it was like, go on a yacht. We're going to feed you and give you fireworks. And then go to the beach because there's concerts for you out there. And you're like, what? And I mean, my parents sent me messages and they're like, I want to be you when I grow up. And it's like, but you think about this, Thomas, like we set out to do something that we care about and that we love. We were a kid at one point that was like, this is my passion. This is my desire. So do you feel like you're living that? Like if you saw little Tommy Pascariello, would you go up to him and be like, hey man, like all those crazy ideas you had, like we're doing it.
Yeah, it's kind of surreal, man, because I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect to be able to go to the Army Navy game. Because we started the company, I mean, 2 years ago at this point. We're just entering year three of my company, and that doesn't even start until I think June. So technically, I'm still just in year two. Did not expect to get that by any means. That was incredibly surreal. 70,000 fans sold out, singing in heart like in unison during one of the breaks in the third quarter. That was just surreal. All the moments going to Oregon for a college football playoff game. That was fantastic. All the venues that I've gotten to go to, going to the Loud House. The Loud House. I mean, it could be 15,000. It could be 50,000. Like that place is booming. And just so loud. UTSA was fantastic to go to as well. Florida, obviously, I've been there quite a bit. That was awesome. The ACC kickoff where we actually ended up meeting, that was fantastic as well. And then the American right after that, that was great. So it's just in having not just players and their families, but having fans come up to like, hey, I really appreciate the work that you're doing. Because I mean, as you know, like just in the ACC kickoff, I think it was like me, you, and like three other people that had questions that were worth being picked for, you know. And then for the American, you were doing your show segments, so you weren't in the conferences, but it was basically me and my employee doing the questions for 99% of the people. I remember Trent Dilfer, Brian Newberry, a half a dozen of the coaches there were just like, hey man, you're the only one asking questions, and
Yeah. Yeah.
Chuck Sullivan, rest in peace, R.I.P. Chuck. He even said the same thing to me. He said, without you guys there, it could have been a disaster. So like having those conversations and people just appreciating and showing what I'm doing the right thing and I'm making the right decisions, it makes me feel good and it makes me look back like, wow, this is surreal. I'm very blessed to be given the opportunities that I'm given. So when I do get the opportunities, I try to make the most of it.
Yeah. Well, and it was funny because you came out of the American press conference room and you're like, hey man, like what we were doing at the ACC, like I was doing it by myself in there. I'm like, well, that's because the American gives me my spot. Like,
Yeah.
and I schedule the players and the coaches to come have like 15, 20 minutes with me. So I'm like,
Right.
I'm not going to pass that up, but I
Yeah.
also, would be happy to be in there. But yeah, I mean, like, I guess at the end of my life, if being nice to people, asking how they are, and talking to too many people consistently is the knock, I don't think that God's gonna go, yeah, you can't come. You built too many relationships. You know what I mean? Like I think we'd get in on that. But I just I look at what you've done, man, and us crossing paths, and we talk about it all the time. It's so hard to find honest people in the media. If you're in a room full of 20 people, 10 people spoke behind your back, 3 people stole from you, 2 people treat you like a ghost, another person, won't even look at you. But when it comes down to it, there's one other person in the room that might say hi. And it was funny because I said to one of my good buddies that you met, I said to Isaac, I was like, you see it. I said, I walk into a room full of people that know my name because they steal from me and I've seen it, or I've worked with them or whatever. I said, I walk into a room and I'm Casper the Ghost. And he said to me, he goes, those same people don't talk to me either. And it just kind of hit me like, you're not the only one. And I mean, so I guess, what have you learned from the media world where, it's just, you don't really find a lot of friends in this world?
Yeah, and that's something that I mean, I a good example is being at the Shrine Bowl, to be honest, because there's other media there, and they may do a great job in their own independent, right? But they get very clicky. We've talked about that before on air and off air. But me, I'm a guy who likes to work. I'm not there to for the approval of those people.
Yep.
They're just for the approval of the players and the fans and their agents to a lesser extent, and then the families. But what draws my attention is the people who work and the people who don't try to achieve that. Hey, I want to be part of the clique, or okay, because everybody can seem cool when they're in a group and they're all cliquey and everything like that. It's very easy to be Mr. Cool Guy. It's a whole different thing to be cool and be yourself when you're not looking for that validation, and as you know, and as I'm sure you feel the same way, you're done looking for that validation from those type of people. um there was a great woman there at the Shrine Bowl. Her name was Raven, and she does something with players' mental health, and she's probably the only person that I went up to that was part of the media, because while everybody else is in their little groups and chatting or trying to, you know, whoever bash players, bash stuff, and you know how they can get.
Yeah.
She was diagonal of me, and it's just I'm working, she's working, and I'm just like, okay, well you're working while everybody else is trying to you know do other stuff and want to be cool with each other, and who knows. You're trying to get the job done, and you're trying to make a difference for the players. So and me and you've talked about that. It's kind of the same thing. Even Syracuse is a great example of that, because there's a lot of media there, and those people don't talk to me the same way they don't talk to you, the same way they don't talk to Isaac. And it's just you know uh, it's opened my eyes to the demons in this world, I guess I'll say, because a lot of people are just looking for, that fame and that validation. But I know I'm validated by the work that I do, because of the people who matter to me are telling me that. You know what I mean? So, but to answer your question, I know that's a very long-winded response. What I've learned is that there's a lot of snakes in the media. There's a lot of people you can't trust.
Yeah.
Then there's a lot of clicks, and I personally choose to be away from them. I don't. Being a social butterfly for me is different, because I do not care about the media. I'll be honest. I just don't. So when I'm being social to people that I want to be social with, and
Yeah.
as somebody who works in the media world, unfortunately, it's 99% of the people are not other media, but that's okay.
Well, and the thing is why would you seek validation from people who change their opinions like underwear about everybody they cover?
Right.
Why would you seek validation from someone that shakes hands and is laughing and joking with a coach that got hired, and in 3 weeks they're going to crap on that guy? So, I mean, in all honesty, watch how the majority of the media treats players and coaches, and ask yourself if that inconsistency and that flip of the switch hatred is something that you want in your corner. It's as simple as that. I might have just had an epiphany today while you were sitting here talking about it. But yeah, I mean, it's real deal. I think we should all wear shirts that say no comment. But, I had somebody come up to me in the media up in Syracuse acting like he was going to get fired or he was losing his job. And he stood right next to me. How many years? Couple of years? Never spoke to me outside of maybe hi once. and then just invasively was like, tell me about your company. How do you do this? How do you make money? We got a whole team of people over here and you do this. And like, how do you do it? And like, you seem to be doing better than the team of people that we have. And how do you get your reels? And how do you, and how do you, and how do you? And I was sitting here going, why would I answer any of the questions of somebody who didn't have the decency to say hello to me? And you know what? After he was getting fired, he's still in Syracuse. He's still at the game. So I was like, all I could think about when he came over to me was, who sent you?
Mm.
And I gave him little to nothing. I loved my answer. He was like, how do you get your reels to go viral? I said, man, you just like point your camera and videos and yeah, it'll work out. Like I gave some stupid answer that makes no sense. I called Isaac and he lost it. And I was like, bro, and then I had somebody DM me that's never spoken to me at any Syracuse event. They DM me on Twitter. They go, hey, we know you know this coach. I need his number. Send it to me. And I looked at my phone and I was like, if you can't say hi and hold the door open when I'm behind you, you think I'm going to give you my contact information for people? Nah, I'm good. Like, you know, and then we went through and did the walkthrough and like Fran Brown's number was there. So a bunch of people are taking it because it's got a cell phone number on it. And I'm like, that still doesn't mean he's going to answer it. He's going to be like, what is this number? I didn't give it out. So yeah, I mean, I know people don't, but see, that's the thing is like you and I don't care. That's not, I am there. Like, you know, when we go to practice, I put on sweats. I put on like my wake up call stuff or Syracuse stuff. And I'm literally bopping my head to the music like the players and the coaches are. And I'm like down on the ground, just like, I don't even know who's around me because I am there to watch. Like I tell people, I go, if you go to a practice and you see me on the sideline, I look more like a coach than a media person. Because I'm like in it. I'm watching the thing like I want to see something. And that's why when I, you know, if I go to any practice, I'm like, let me be here. I've said it before. I'm like, take my microphone, take a note, like take whatever you want to take from me. Friggin', you know, have me wear a wire and hear what I could say. Because I literally just want to be here to watch practice. And it's like, well, we can't trust the other 30 people. Well, then kick them out and let me sit here. Like, you know what I mean? I just feel like you don't punish everybody for what individuals do. And there's certain people over time at Syracuse that ruined it for everybody. And, you know, they would say it. They would gloat about it. Like, yeah, we're going to do whatever we want and who cares? And I'm like, why do I get punished when I've never broken a rule at practice? So why don't you let me watch an hour and a half and then kick out those people after 15 minutes that you know can't keep their mouth shut? I mean, isn't that how it should be? I mean, that's what the NFL did. They said, put your cameras down. And if somebody didn't put their camera down, there was a lady that ran full speed when we were Tebow Jets in Cortland, ran full speed at a camera person, screamed in their face. She's like, did you not hear me? So to me, it's like, I don't know. I'm not for like group punishments. I'm for individual punishments for individual crimes.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the same thing with the NFL when I was there too is same thing. But there's a period where you're not allowed to film, so you put the phone down, and if you were filmed, and if you were caught filming, you either got berated like that or you got escorted out. And that's just how it should be. I mean, there should be no reason that you sacrifice the many for the problems of the few, for the actions of the few rather. So. It's something I've never been a fan of either. And I mean, you've seen me. I mean, I drive 2.5 hours to get to those practices during spring and summer. And, you know, I would like to see more, you know, more time just watching the guys practice. Because, I mean, there's people who live right there who don't even want to watch the actual practice. They just want to take videos. How can they get viral? How can they do this? And I'm just like, sure, that part's nice too, but like I just want to see some practice, man. I want to be able to know what I'm watching so that when I do have to talk about it, I sound like I know what I'm talking about. You know, I don't want to make guesses. And that's why I mean, you're part of this. That's why we didn't make the guesses about the Angeli Collins, you know, quarterback situation until we knew what it was going to be because everybody kept saying one way or the other it was going to be A or B, and nobody had an inkling of a clue until later. And you know, I'm just not a fan of that stuff. So, I completely agree.
Well, and I remember there was one Syracuse practice, and we only saw the running backs go to the outside of the field, and they're right up against the sideline, and they would jog with nobody on them, and they'd catch the ball from the quarterback. And that was it. And then I left practice, and there was people talking about Devontae McFarland. You know, like he was just like, man, he was going in and out, and like all of his reads and that. And I was like, either you're lying, or you stayed at practice, and like you snuck back in, because nobody saw that. And I remember somebody saying to me, like, everyone's talking about this one wide receiver. Why aren't you? And it was like, the truth was, everybody hyped this guy, and people don't get off of narratives when they create them because they don't want to say that they're wrong. I watched the guy practice, and he wasn't catching passes. What I saw of him, I was like, this guy's like number 6 on the depth chart. And it was no disrespect to him. I was like, this is just what I see. And I'm not going to go out and dog this guy, but I'm also not going to just follow the leader. And this is what all the media are saying. So I remember somebody questioning me. And I also remember somebody saying, like, you know, why do you say this one guy when nobody else is saying it? Apparently Dan's sources are his hopes and dreams. And I was sitting there going, no, my source is the wide receiver coach from Syracuse, but I can't tell you that. So, I mean, the statute of limitations is over. He's not the wide receivers coach. He was a wide receivers coach a million years ago. But, you know, I was like, he literally said to me, like, this is what's up. But that's the thing that people don't understand. And people hate the term, according to my sources. It drives people nuts. And they're like, tell us who they are. And I said, okay, you can have one of two things. I can tell you my source, lose that source, and you can feel good about yourself while not caring about me. And, you know, you're going to ask for my source so that you can try and validate me, which I don't need your validation, and then I'm going to lose it forever. Or you can shut up, get the information, know that it's accurate, and enjoy the show. And so, I mean, I don't give up my sources. And the funny thing is, 12 years later, we're friends. They've been to a bunch of different stops, and they give me everything I need at every single stop. They will still text me, da-da-da-da-da. Like, I had a coach tell me recently, he goes, if you need any of this, just let me know. I didn't even ask for it. So it's like, but it's those relationships that people have to understand. Either you get the information, shut up and like it, or you don't get the information because you want someone to burn a bridge. And I'm not about that, man. You know, and what I've also realized, Thomas, and you know this and I know this, sometimes when other media outlets say according to my sources, they mean according to Thomas Pascariello or Dan Tortora.
Yeah, that's happened. That's happened a lot. Oh my gosh. A good example is was Darius Boobie Johnson, because I did an interview with him and we did a shout out to Teddy Bridgewater, and lo and behold, a bunch of outlets suddenly had my interview and I wasn't sure how they got it. So that was fascinating too. And bring up on your other point, I mean, he was the guy that I highlighted in the spring, and nobody even cared about him at
Yeah.
all. They didn't know anything about him. And then he got injured, and a friend was like, "Yeah, well, he was the guy behind Jonte in the slot." And I'm like, "Huh? Oh, well, maybe I knew a little bit about what I was talking about." And then suddenly everybody knows who Booby. You know, they just call him Booby now because they don't want to say his real name because they probably don't know his real name. You know, so it's just. Yeah, fascinating. And the ones who want you to lose your sources over, a tiny bit of information just so they can, be like, well, hey, you're trying to get you like, oh, he's lying. Like, no, man, I'm not gonna do. Why would I expose somebody who's giving me information that they're not giving other people to do my job?
Well, it's the same people who are like, why can't the president tell us where this? I'm like, because someone would die. Like, I mean, like death. That's why we don't tell. Well, I need to know exactly where you are in Afghanistan. They can't tell their family. They can't tell anybody. I've had people tell me things that I'm like, when it comes to serving in the military and whatnot, and I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to know that. Like, I don't, I'm happy you told me, but like, I don't feel like I'm supposed to know that. You know what I mean? So just keep it to yourself. And listen, be yourselves, people. We talk about a lot of different things here, Thomas, but we're real, right? And I think what the other media has realized is we're not going to hide you behind smoke and mirrors and be like, you guys are all great and you tell the truth all the time, because you don't. So I do want to get into something, since we're going to go from something where some media people are like, oh, I hate him more now. And I'm like, good, because I love your Snickers when I come in the room. And then but there's another thing that may cause people to get upset. Are you ready?
Yeah.
There's a new Notre Dame rule to the college football playoff. I'm calling it the Notre Dame rule because every conference has to fight. Their conference has to be regarded as good. They have to play against ranked teams. They have to win, hopefully get to their conference championship, win their conference championship. They have to have 2 losses or less. All Notre Dame needs, the format's the same with 12, but now all Notre Dame needs to get in is for the 12 to 13 people on the college football playoff committee to like them enough to put them in the top 12 of the rankings. Your thoughts on the fact that now Notre Dame, regardless of record, opponent, schedule, anything, they just have to be liked enough in the beginning of December.
Yeah, that one is insane to me. I know Notre Dame fans are really gonna hate me after this one because I can't. I personally, when that like came to the surface, I was shocked that the NCAA would even allow that. Like, how is that not how? How does that not affect the integrity of what you're trying to do
Yeah.
with the college football playoff? I mean, we could theoretically we could have like a 3-loss Notre Dame team into the playoff just because got like, well, that was week 0 of the season, or the same thing that they were trying to do this year, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's fair. It loses, I'm pretty sure that makes it so that the autonomy schools will basically, like what happened this past year with Tulane and James Madison. I don't think that'll ever happen again now.
It won't.
Where non-autonomy, yeah, where non-autonomy gets a bid,
Well,
which I'm
one
not a fan of
will.
that.
So we know.
Just one,
Yeah,
right?
so so now instead of having the 5 hot, not to interrupt, to now have, it's not the 5 highest ranked conference champions of the 10 conferences with the pack coming back. It is now the 4 autonomy conference champions plus the highest ranked group of champion of the 6 conferences. So now it's written that the 7 at large could be anybody, right? So they'll say it's a fair play, but it's not. The reality of it all is, of the 12 spots, there's only going to be one team out of 40 plus of 6 conferences that's going to get in every year.
Yeah, and I think that's insane. I'm a big I don't group of 6, non-autonomy, however, whatever people call them. I'm a fan of those schools and teams because that's where I started. And coming as a community college guy, JUCO guy myself, like I've seen, I mean, how many players have come up from, a D2, D3 group of 6, and ends up playing at a P4 level. It's quite a good amount of guys.
Yeah.
And then when you talk about players that are drafted, it's more than 30% never leave the group of 6. That doesn't even include the P4 players who used to play for the group of 6. So I think it's completely insane that that is the way that they're going. And the Notre Dame thing is just like the icing on the cake for me because I just don't know how that's even possible. That should not be possible. I've nothing against Notre Dame, but that is beyond ridiculous to me.
Yeah, I mean, the autonomy group has to win. The non-autonomy group has to win. Notre Dame has to win and be liked. And and folks, I would say this about Syracuse, my hometown. I would say this about Kansas, UCLA. It doesn't matter. Like, I would say this about anybody. I would literally say to you, without doubt, no reservation, any school that gets in because, hey, because rankings are subjective. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to look at the details and see how I do the rankings. I'm impartial. I look at everything, and whether I'm a fan of that team or not a fan of that team in the comfort of my own home, doesn't matter. I look at the rankings, I stay up for hours, and at 3:34 in the morning, I'm clicking, okay, that's my top 25. Now, the committee and I were almost completely the same in what they chose this year. I thought they might punish Ole Miss. I thought Notre Dame had a better argument against Oregon than Miami. Besides that, the chaos theory that Shane Barrett and I went through, that happened. JMU, Duke, all that stuff. So I thought the American was getting in no matter what because they played ranked teams. Tulane, South Florida, North Texas, whoever it was that came out of that thing. So, yeah, I mean, when I looked at all of that, I said to myself, okay, this is what makes sense, and this is what it should be. But now knowing that Notre Dame, it's like an apology. because they determined who was getting in. And I was down in Florida and I did the broadcast from Orlando. And then within a half an hour, it was running on the ticker. Hey, just so you know, next year, Notre Dame, they would have been in. And I was like, why are we apologizing? Like, they didn't beat the good team. By the way, here's their 2026 schedule. Hold your breath because it's going to get fun. So they are playing Wisconsin, who is a middle to bottom level Big Ten team right now, coming out of last year. They're playing Rice, who has come up a little bit in the American. They are playing, but hasn't been ranked in a minute. They're playing Michigan State, who is in the bottom part of the Big Ten. They're playing Purdue, who did not win a game in the entire Big Ten schedule. They're playing North Carolina, who had a so-so season under Bill Belichick. They're playing Stanford, who's in their who's with their third head coach in 3 years. They're playing BYU, that was smoke and mirrors last year. They're playing Navy, who's a good team, but they always seem to beat the military academies. They're playing Miami, first tough game of the season, November 7th, and that game is at home. Then they play Boston College at home. Then they play SMU at home for 3 straight weeks in November, which is the other tough game. And then they play Syracuse in the Dome, which typically they don't come to the Dome because it's not big enough. So, but yeah, that's their schedule. So I imagine they're going to be 10-2. They may lose to Miami, SMU. And if that happens, they're going to get in. So, because they're not going to do 2 years of them not getting in. But let me just paint a little picture here. Did the college football playoff lose anything with them not being in this year? Because, I was on the road in the CFP, and I'm sorry, but every game was electrifying. Every game was fun. And even being at the Capital One Orange Bowl, where Texas Tech didn't score, and Oregon and them were in this low-scoring match, that was still a great game, a great opportunity. It was still a lot of fun for me to be at that game and see it, and see two defenses just kind of knock each other out. And Jacob Rodriguez, there's a bunch of national polls that I vote in, and he's a name that's in, that was in those polls. So, I don't feel like we missed anything by the baby that sat in the corner. And so, but I would say that about anybody. And I feel like people get so weird these days. Like, you'll write an entire paragraph. They'll read 3 words in the second sentence and go, I hate that guy. I hate that girl. And you're like, yeah. But you didn't read the whole paragraph. And the whole paragraph is, you heard me say Notre Dame shouldn't, but you didn't hear me say no team should have this rule. There's not a single team in football to have the validity, the fairness, and the actual substance of it matters what you do on the field. That's not holding with this Notre Dame rule. And I know that the CFP is trying to work through the kinks. I hope they get rid of this thing.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It wouldn't matter if it was Syracuse or any other team, to be honest with you. My favorite, actually, I'll keep my favorite team off. Nobody needs to know that for now. But if it was my favorite team, I would be like, hey, that's why. Why are we doing this? It doesn't make much sense. It's like, and then to have. What was the icing on the cake for me is that they chose to opt out of a bowl game after that too, which I just thought come on, man, why are you doing that? It doesn't make any sense. It's selfishness. It's basically the kid who takes his ball home and cries because he didn't win, and that's just, I feel like that defeats the purpose of what athletics is supposed to be. And to act like that is just beyond selfish, in my opinion, especially for a game that's supposed to be pure in its, how it's played and how it's done, supposed to be pure. I know a lot of politics and money and stuff has changed that, but at the end of the day, I still view football as a pure sport, and I think that when you're a poor sport about it, especially the way Notre Dame is, and having them find this little loophole clause that they can, find their way into the playoffs this year and next year. I don't know how far that deal extends to, so I guess we'll find that out sooner than later. But I think that's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous, and it ruins the integrity of the game, in my opinion.
Well, and the interesting thing is that I heard from a commissioner off the air before this happened, and this was last season. They said to me, I said, it almost seems like there's a rule that if Notre Dame goes undefeated or loses a game, they're automatically in. And he looked right at me. This is a commissioner of an FBS conference. He said, Dan, that's written into our legislation. And I was like, what? So did this rule always exist and now it's public? Did they sweeten it or change it a little bit? But I was told before this that Notre Dame had preferential treatment as long, like if they hit us, if they were undefeated or one loss or whatever, he said, Dan, this is written into our laws. And I was like, on paper? This isn't like we like them, but we're not going to tell anybody. So, I mean, and my thing is, what keeps the AD from Notre Dame to not making phone calls to the CFP committee, right? Because obviously he sits there with the FBS commissioners on the CFP management committee. So what's going to keep him from talking to the selection committee, getting their phone numbers and texting them all, Saturday saying you better do the right thing Sunday morning? I mean, it's just a slippery slope and it's dangerous. And, anybody that says to me, I should be in something, and you say, why? And they say, because I'm me. I'm like, ew, ew,
Yeah.
just stop. So I'm not for it. Again, I wouldn't be for it. If it was any school, the Notre Dame rule is in effect, and we'll see what that does to college football. Before I let you go, Mr. Pascariello, I like to do this thing with my coaches, student athletes, and administration that come on the show called Rapid Fire. And we get to ask each other questions about any topic, anything in the world. No pressure. This is live to the entire world on video and audio. They can hear us and see us, but we can ask each other anything. It's not pre-planned, pre-done. He has no idea what I'm going to ask him. I have no idea what he's going to ask me. You get to ask the first question. What do you got?
Okay. What was, I don't want to say best, what was your favorite Christmas or birthday gift that you've ever received?
Okay. Favorite Christmas or birthday gift? So, once again, we're here in Rapid Fire on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, playing with the head man at the league winners, Thomas Pascariello. My favorite Christmas or birthday gift that I've ever received. That's a good question.
I know.
I'm trying, because I go back to my grandfathers because they both passed away when I was 6. And I would say just their presence. I would say my best birthdays and holidays were when all 4 of my grandparents were alive. It's the ones I remember the most. I can go right back there. I could not tell you what I had for lunch yesterday, but I can go right back to every dining room, every kitchen, every house, and I have like crazy clear memories of things. So I would say to my Papa Cavino, G Mama, Gammy Miller, and Pop Miller, I love you and I miss you. And my favorite moments were with them. So I can't say it was a material thing. I would just say it's their presence. So my present is their presence.
There you go. I have the same thing. I still remember my grandmother's house was all the family, and she had a little train tracks with like Disney characters and stuff on the tracks, and it was can't take back those memories, man. You can't forget those.
No, not at all. Best of the best. So, and those are the type of people that I seek to be around, and those are the only people that I put myself around on purpose. My question back to you. Well, now that we've known each other for about half a year or so, a little over half a year, what is your favorite memory of us interacting with each other in the past half a year?
I think it was probably the first time we met. I think that's probably my favorite because it was a connection of like, hey, like it was a mutual respect there pretty instantly. We know we were doing like, hey, I heard your name being called a lot. Hey, well, I heard your name being called a lot too. And then we just started talking and formed this really awesome relationship that we have now. So I like to go back and I'm not a guy where first impressions mean everything per se, but they mean a lot. So and I'm really good at reading people. At least I like to think so. But so I met you. I'm like, hey, well, this is a good guy. He does great work as well. And when you find people, and I've told you this before, when you find good people, you want to
Yeah.
keep them close. So I'll have to go back to that first time we met at the ACC kickoff.
Yeah, I remember that. You walked over, and I think it was with Brandon, right? And
Yeah.
and you walked over, and we talked, and you just introduced yourself, and you're like, hey man, like, appreciate what you're doing. And I was like, that almost never happens in the media where somebody goes to another media person and says, "Hey, you're doing a good job." Like, so, you
Yeah.
know, I never expect that. So my facial thing was probably like stunned when you said any type of nice thing, but it was like, "Hey, just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Thomas and this and that." And I was like, I've been here for like 13 or 14 years and this has happened like almost never. So, yeah, I mean, like that was really crazy in a good way. And then, you know, I wanted to go up to you and I was going like to the American kickoff press conference room because I wanted to say, you know, before I left, I didn't want to just leave. I wanted to shake your hand and, you know, obviously shake your buddy's hand and say like, you know, good to meet you guys, keep in touch. And as I'm going out, you were like coming out and we were both kind of going toward each other to like say, what's up? And I just remember like, I got to shake his hand. I got to say, thank you. Like, don't leave the room without just saying like, hey, I appreciate you. I appreciate your words. And, you know, I've been through hell when it comes to media people, but you got to live every experience like you've never been through a bad one before. And you just seem like somebody who like, why would someone go out of their way to just make sure they shake your hand, make sure they say hello, make sure they say goodbye before they leave the room. And, you know, it turned into what it is today. So I'm happy that we both took the time to shake a hand that we didn't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I completely agree, man. I feel like, God makes things happen for a reason. And it's been a pleasure. So I guess it's my turn now, right?
Well, I get to, well, you're not, because I said your
Did you
favorite.
ask?
Yeah, so it is your turn. Yeah.
Okay, okay. What's one place you would visit that you haven't been to yet, and why? I guess that's two questions, but
Greenland. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Just had to say Greenland once so that the algorithm is like, ooh. So, but no, not Greenland. I'm kidding. I'm messing around. I mean, the thing is like, but I will say this. I saw something about it, and somebody was like, no one ever cared about the 50,000 people that live there until like 3 days ago, which is why
yeah,
like nobody even knew people live there. And by the way, if you take geography, Iceland, no ice. Greenland, a lot of it's under like ice and snow.
yeah,
I don't know who named these things and who was smoking the pipe, but like Greenland is Iceland and Iceland is Greenland. But yeah, I just find it funny that, you know, people are freaking out over Greenland right now, whatever. But no, the place that I would like to visit is I can't with some people, man. So, but I would say, well, hopefully it's a place that I'm going to soon in a few months, which is wild. I used to say Italy, and then I got to go last year, and I can't believe that I got to go, and now I want to go back every year because I loved it so much. The food, the air, and being a single man. I don't know. God put, he didn't put 10s in Italy. He put 13s, 12s, 22s. Like, I remember sitting there eating pizza with my dad. We were outside, and I was like, there's not, like, every woman, like, I could literally get turned down 80 times, and the 81st woman, I'm like, yes. But I just remember I looked at my dad, I go, I'm not coming home. He goes, you're coming home. I go, Dad, I got pizza. I have beautiful women. I'm good. Like, I'm all right. I'm gonna do the show from here. We're gonna see how it goes. By the way, there's a Tortora burger company that was right up the road from where I said that. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, I would go to Spain, which I'm hopefully going to with my mom in a few months. And I would go see my family. I have family in Spain, and they've kept in touch with me through social media, and they've watched the show and listened to the show, which is a massive honor, and it humbles me, and I love that. And their support's incredible. Like, these people have never met me before, and they support me more than like literal blood relatives that live in America. So I can't say enough about Ana Maria and Jose and everybody over there, the Carracos. So big time shout out to my family in Spain. I look forward to the opportunity to getting to meet you soon. My question back to you. Well, so I got a new Sunday coming out at Carvel DeWitt, which is right around the corner for where you and I go to practice. So we're going to get one of these when you're back in town. I can't tell you what it's called until February 13th, but I'm very excited. So, but it does have to do with bringing the country back together. That's what I'll say.
Okay.
So I'm excited. And so we're going to do that. So I have a sundae and I have a sandwich at Mother's Cupboard, which is a few minutes from Syracuse practice. If there was going to be a Pascariello special, what would be your meal and where would you want it to be sold at?
Oh man, that's a very good question because there's a bunch of stuff. Oh my Lord. There's a lot of stuff too. Okay. I'd probably have to go. This is gonna sound insane, maybe, because they're saying that I've had experience where I've like made my own sandwiches. I used to be a chef at one point, so like I had my own burger made. That was cool. It was a bacon cheeseburger with mozzarella sticks on it. That was fantastic. So that was a specialty burger I made a long time ago, but I'm not gonna go there. And
Okay.
then with stuff in my family now, we do a lot of Latino based food. So there's like certain tacos and empanadas and stuff that we've done that we've made our own. But I'm gonna go with a cheeseburger pizza, right? So it'll
Okay.
be like some like dollops of like burger meat,
Yeah.
everything that with French fries on it. French fries on the pizza has
Okay.
to be. And I would have it, man, I'm a New York guy, so have to have it at I Love New York Pizza. I mean, that's a place I'm trying to trying to get in just for the great food and the name, New Yorker. And I guess I have to go that. I don't want to go with stuff that I've done before personally, so I'll go with that.
Okay. I've had cheeseburger pizza and I love it dearly. So I'm rocking with you on that. Never had it with fries on it. So,
Dude, game changer.
yeah.
Legitimately. I thought it was like nasty. Fantastic.
By the way, can we do a like bonding of our two shows, Wake Up Call and the League Winners? Can we do a mashup talking about sports while cooking in the kitchen?
Dude, that'd be sick. I'd be down for that.
Wouldn't that be nice? That would be
It
awesome.
would.
That would
Yeah,
be
I made a pasta meal yesterday with the baby. We had some fried ravioli in there too. Oh man, I'm a foodie at heart, so I love that.
yeah.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, no, that like I feel like we should do that. I think we should do like specialty pizzas together and like do our show together at that time.
Yeah,
That would be
we'll have to
fun.
figure that out. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
we need to do that. So
Yeah.
I got a big kitchen. I got a good sized kitchen. So let's, and that's not me gloating. That's me saying like I have a kitchen I need to cook in more. What's your last question for me?
Last question. Okay. I'll just stick to this year then. What's been your favorite interviewer person that you've talked to this year? Or more interesting. Favorite might be the bad word there. More interesting.
That's really tough. Oh, that's really tough. I mean, the whole story behind Villari and I doing something that I've never seen done before ever in the history of the NFL, which is have a player who's going to a draft do a weekly segment for months leading into the draft telling their entire story. And, every episode has like a sitcom title. So I was down in Florida in December. It was early December. My dad and I go down to Orlando every December. It's become a ritual that I love. And I was just like, man, I want to do something with Dan, but it just hit me. I was like, I want to do a segment with him every week. Like I talk to these Syracuse guys going into the draft. I'll talk to anybody going into the draft. I reach out to some other people. Hopefully I'll hear back from them, God willing, for this one. But I don't know. I was like, Dan, would you like to do a segment that's like not, I don't want to talk to you once, but to do something that we get to do more often because we just bonded. And I bond with a lot of the guys, but, like him and I, it's just, like we tell each other we love each other. I mean, you heard it when we talked today. It was like, I love you, man. God bless. And so I just said something about, you think about if you want it to be weekly or bi-weekly. And it's just what you want to do. And then I FaceTimed him and I was at Disney Springs. And I was like, bro, I have to see your face when I say this. I was like, I couldn't call you. I have to literally see your face. So we were supposed to do it like, we were trying to get in touch for a couple days, and I was like, it has to be FaceTime because I want to look at you when I say this. I was like, I got the name of the show. He goes, what? Lay it on me. And I said, NeapoliDANS, because we both have Italian blood. And he was like, I love it. And I was like, all right. And then we did the first episode, and we finished the recording, and we were, still talking on screen. And I was like, yeah, man. So I said, you said something at the end of the show. You said, I'll see you next week. And I said, you said you want to do it every other week. So, I just wanted to, and he's like, no, he's like, I've done it. Now I got to feel for it. Was the first episode. He's like, no, now that we've done it and I got to feel for it, I want to do it every week. And I said, why don't you sleep on it? Why don't you think about it? And then get back to me if you want to do weekly or not. And he's on the screen and he turns to his side and he goes, yeah, thought about it. I'm good. Let's do it. He goes, no, he went, no, he goes, slept on it. Let's do every week. And I'll never forget that moment. So I would probably say doing this unique journey with Dan Villari has been really, really cool. I would also say, Malachi James, and he's at Eastern Michigan now. And I'm just really excited for him to be the NFL caliber running back that I know that he will be. And I believe in him. And I just really close with his family. So, I mean, those guys come to mind right off the jump. Stonehouse, I just love the fact that he genuinely he's lighthearted and he doesn't care what people think. I love it. Like, he would come out and do interviews in Nightmare Before Christmas pajamas. And you could tell that it wasn't a stunt. It wasn't like FU media. It was like, I'm Jack Stonehouse and I'm not changing my ritual. Like, I'm done with practice. I'm in my comfy pants. And if you want to talk to me, like, this is who I am. And I strive to have that level of I don't care in a good way, like Jack Stonehouse does. So, I mean, I guess I would mention those guys, but talking with Kurt Signetti, that was awesome. I love talking with Mario Cristobal, which I've gotten to do over the years by the grace of God. And I mean, I don't know if I could pick. I really love talking to Carson Beck. I'm happy I got to talk with Fernando Mendoza a bunch of times. But probably my favorite interview of that championship was Riley Nowakowski, because he was a walk-on at Wisconsin that paid to go to school to play football that ended up winning a national championship at Indiana, betting on himself. And I met his roommate from Wisconsin who was standing there on the field next to me, and I was waiting for Riley to be done with something so I could talk with him. And I was like, I'm not going to be rude. Like, I could tell this was his guy. Like, these guys are friends. This is a bond, right? This is real deal. This is what, you and I aspire to have in relationships. And you could feel it. And I was like, this guy's being so gracious because he wants to hang out with his buddy, and this buddy keeps getting stopped to do interviews and pictures and whatnot. So I was like, I'm not going to ignore this guy like he's a nobody because he's here and, in sweatpants, and this guy's here in a jersey. So I went up to him and I introduced myself, and he told me his name, and we were talking. He's like, I'm his roommate. Like, I was with him at Wisconsin. He's like, what they wanted to do, and they're scheming. He didn't fit into it. And then I looked at him and I said, well, brother, I said, God's plans are far better than ours. And he picked his hand up and he slapped my hand and he pulled me and he gave me a hug. He's like, my man. And you could tell like that, like talking about God and hearing somebody talk about faith and the Spirit just being there. Like, I loved that moment. So I love talking to Riley, but I love talking to Riley's buddy. You know what I mean? And that was a really cool experience for me. And yeah, so I would say that. And the mascot video bombing me on the field at the end of the game. That was cool too.
I did see that.
Yeah. My question, and if you saw how that happened, 2 years in a row now, God has made something difficult because he needed something to be a barrier to me so that I didn't get somewhere until he wanted me to get there, so that I could get there at that time, so that I could cross paths with something I didn't know was coming. The year before was Anthony Mackie, Captain America. So my question back to you, what do you have your sights set on that you've said to yourself, in 2026, I'm doing this?
Oh man, that is really tough. Um, okay, that's actually a tough one because there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm kind of going down the same path of what I've been doing company wise. So obviously I would like to continue doing that. Um, and I guess I don't know if it'd be 2026 technically because it'd be the next year, but I would love to cover the national title game. Obviously, I knocked off two things this past year that I wanted to do, which was the Army Navy game, and then we did a college football playoff game. So the next step for me personally, because I've been at the combine, I haven't been at the draft. I do want to go this year. The draft's in Pittsburgh this year, right? Is that this year?
Yeah, I
I
think so.
think it's
Pittsburgh or
this year.
Green? Wait, was it in Green Bay last year?
Yes, it was in Green Bay last year, so I
Yeah,
think it is Pittsburgh this year.
yeah.
I would love to do that too. I mean, that would be short term, so that would be cool. But I guess it would be the national title game. That's kind of like the next step of what I would like to do as a company. Whether or not that happens, God only knows. I don't. So I'm just gonna keep working towards that goal. So for that, for company wise, business wise, that would be my goal. For personal wise, I just want to continue putting my daughter in the best position so that she can learn and be a smarter, better person than I was. And that's those are probably my two goals, personal and professional.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And I would love at the CFP National Championship in Las Vegas for you to be sitting next to me.
That'd be sick.
That'd be really cool. And let's talk about the draft off the air.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Let's talk
Yeah, I'm
about it
done.
off the air. Thomas Pascariello, the league winners. Thomas, tell everybody how they can reach out and be a part of what the league winners are doing.
Yeah, well, now that my Twitter's back and the company Twitter's back, you can either follow me personally at Tommy CFB college football. So it's spelt how it sounds. And then you can follow the league winners on X/Twitter as well at League Winners FB for football. That's our main one. We have the CF for college football, League Winners CF for college football. That's more for interviews and stuff. Then you can find us on Instagram or YouTube at the League Winners. And that's where we have all of our media content, and Facebook as well at the League Winners. Yeah, hoping for another great year.
Yeah, a lot of great things coming up. Not easy to find great people who care about relationships, honesty, doing things the right way, morals, and values when it comes to the media. But Thomas Pasquarello and his team have shown me that. And, the person that is my spirit animal, Shane Barrett, I think about him as well. So Shane's got to get back on the show because Shane, we predicted the whole CFP. Like what happened? We predicted it. So got to get
Yeah.
Shane back on the show because we're 1-0. So definitely looking forward to that. Appreciate you as always, Thomas. Thank you for the extra time today. We spent about an hour and a half together, but time well spent because you deserve it. You work hard. You're doing a lot of great things out there. And like I said, it's not easy to find somebody like you in the media. So keep doing what you're doing. Do it with God first. Keep looking out for your daughter and just having the morals and values to make a difference in this world and make a change. I will tell you, the players, the coaches, everyone you come across, whether they say it or not, people appreciate real. They sniff it out really quick. And, those are relationships that last a lifetime. So Thomas Pasquarello, league winners, I love you, buddy. And I look forward to talking with you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Shane just moved into his new place in South Carolina, so I think he'll be ready to come on sometime soon. I appreciate you for letting me come on and babble for an hour and a half. It's always a great time to talk with you, Dan. Thank you so much for having me, man.
Yeah, of course. And Shane, we look forward to talking with you soon. And just so you know, Alex Golish in 2026 has not re-upped his restraining order, so now's a perfect time to go to his house. So we'll talk with you all soon. Thanks, Thomas. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we'll take our final step aside, where sports meets life, and we'll wrap things up right after this. Stay with us. And now
This is Jim Dispenza, owner of Game Point Sports Complex. You hear the same story across any sport that kids play and any sport that adults play. There's never enough places to play. That was definitely true with volleyball, definitely true with basketball. Could be cheerleading, it could be field hockey, which is what we're seeing now. Every sport has a lack of places to play, and I think Syracuse in particular is a place where it's really bad. Despite the fact that we've got a lot of athletic talent around here, we just seem to have not enough places for people to play, and they're going to different places. They're going to Rochester, they're going to, Buffalo. They're going all different places because we don't have a place here, and I felt like that should change. This was a long project from planning all the way through execution to opening the doors. A lot of work went into it, obviously, a lot of money, a lot of resources, and the dream always was kids being in the gym, having a good time. And I've always felt like sports is the most unfiltered joy that you can observe with people, that people can experience, because it is fun, it is a sense of accomplishment, it's all of that wrapped into one thing. And so watching kids going up and down the court with big smiles on their faces has been just amazing experience. I'm looking forward to years to come of that same thing. We've taken the time to invest in multiple sports, and then what we're finding is the mere fact that we have a large, clean, well-lit space has opened a lot more doors for us beyond basketball, volleyball, pickleball. Now we're having some interest from cheerleading. We've got girls field hockey coming in, and then also there's quite a bit of room for spectators. We've got bleachers, we've got benches, we've got a concession lounge where people can get food and drinks. We're going to have multiple sports going at the same time, using every square inch of this place for what it was conceived for, which is basically people to come in, have a good time in the sport that they prefer. We manage each situation differently. Everybody has different ability to afford different things. Some are bringing 10, 15 people, some are just 2 people. I've had a lot of situations where it's a father shooting around with his son, it's a mother playing pickleball with her daughter or with her son, and then those situations come up and we work with people, and that's allowed us to have groups from 2 people up to 30 people and have some flexible pricing behind it. We're an organization that is here to work with the community any way we can, and I guess part of it is just making sure that we have the flexibility to put together a plan that makes sense regardless of the size of your group. So in order to book time, the best option is to go to our website, gamepointsports-syr.com. You can click from there and sign up for events, sign up for your own particular training, sign up for birthday parties, all of that.
Avicoli's restaurant, located on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, has been serving our community for decades. Your place to go for home cooking on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road is just minutes from Liverpool High School. And every single month, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is on site, on location, with Liverpool sports, student athletes, coaches, and administration telling their stories throughout the year. We look forward to seeing you on site at Avicoli's for their casual pizza side, their fine dining, as well as their bar. And of course, you can order online at myavicoli's.com. That's myavicoli's.com. For takeout, delivery, and catering, call 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100. Come on in to the neighborhood spot Avicoli's, open 7 days a week in Liverpool, New York. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is your home away from home for your furry-loving friends. Open 7 days a week with drop-off and pickup times in the morning and later on in the day and early evening. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is the spot to trust with your dog for short and long-term stays. Call 315-299-4013 for more information. That's 315-299-4013, and go to k9campground.com as well. That's KAMP ground.com, where you will find all of the information on their different cabins, which include the classic cabin, executive cabin, grand cabin, and luxury cabin. K9 Campground Dog Boarding, where your dog will have indoor and outdoor areas as well as their own private cabin for any size, any breed, as well as dogs with different needs. Dog parents and dogs alike choose K9 Campground Dog Boarding. Isn't that right, Lily? Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Avicoli's Restaurant. Here's a message from Renee from Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up It was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Brian's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Life gets busy, and sometimes that means us running around. So Canine Camp Dog Daycare offers you an opportunity to give your dog a place to stay while you take care of what you need to throughout the day. Canine Camp Dog Daycare is located on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, New York. You can see it from the highway, and it's just off of Erie Boulevard across from BJ's Wholesale Club. Call 315-437-7110. That's 315-437-7110 to schedule an appointment to bring your dog in and tour the facility. Appointments are Monday through Thursday after 6:30, where you and your dog can see everything that Canine Camp Dog Daycare has to offer, including a self-serve dog wash and a retail store filled with all of your dog's wants and needs, including food, treats, harnesses, leashes, and more, making Canine Camp Dog Daycare your one-stop shop for your furry-loving friend. Right, Lily?
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks comes to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. And they are there for you for all of your sports card and trading card needs. GG Cards and Breaks, 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6. Sundays from 10 to 5. Go and make sure to visit them today. Let them know the DT sent you. Whether you're looking for singles, packs, boxes, graded cards, stuff to protect your cards, all the supplies you need to protect them, travel with them, showcase your cards. If you love playing the trading card games, the TCGs, then you can go there. Disney, Lorcana, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, One Piece. So many wonderful things at GG Cards and Breaks, along with all the sports that you love. Vintage, new. You never know what you're going to find at GG Cards and Breaks. Go and be a big kid and discover something today. on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. GG Cards and Brakes right off of Teal Ave. Big time shout out and big thanks to Chick-fil-A in DeWitt. Chick-fil-A on the corner of Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard. A lot of love for what they're doing over there with Megan Sorber and her team. The giant brick building, awesome inside with plenty of room for you to dine in. You can also order on the app and you can go through the drive-thru. So many ways to experience Chick-fil-A in DeWitt and the awesome flavors that we've gotten to know Chick-fil-A for, that we love. The waffle fries, of course, the original, the spicy, the grilled, awesome things at Chick-fil-A. And you can go and visit Megan Sorber and her team today on the corner of Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard. Let them know the DT sent you. With that being said, inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, man, this show, this week, what is it, Wednesday? We did over 4 hours on Monday, over 2 hours yesterday, and today we're almost at 3 hours. So we've started off the new year, and we've started off February by bringing you a bunch of shows here. And in this week alone, so we got 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday is 10 hours. And as of right now, 3 days into our 5-day week, we have hit, let's see here. So that's 444. And then we've hit almost 9 hours in 3 days with 2 more days to go of a 10 hours that we promise you. So under promise, over deliver. That's what we're about here on Wake Up Call. I want to thank you for being with us up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. You can hang out with us on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /Wake Up Call DT and on Wake Up Call DT.podbean.com. So however you're connected with the show, thanks for tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Of course, we jump into the archives: Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, YouTube. So many ways to connect with us. You can also ask Alexa or your Google Home device to play the latest episode of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and they'll do that for you as well. Make sure that you subscribe, you follow, and you connect with us on all of these wonderful outlets. We appreciate you for your support and your consistency. And speaking of support and consistency, make sure you go out and visit the wonderful team that we have in Central and Upstate New York, Great Lakes Honda City, as well as Carvel DeWitt. Our newest Sunday is going to be unveiled so soon, and I am ecstatic about it. So we are ready to bring it to you, and that's going to be coming very, very soon on February 13th, 213, in honor of my grandfather and my favorite number together, and on his lucky day, as my Papa Cavino took the negatives and turned them into positives, and one of those things being Friday the 13th, something that people considered an unlucky day, a scary day. And my grandpa, that was his favorite day. That was his lucky day. So big time shout out to what's coming up at Carvel DeWitt on February 13th, 2026. Can't wait to share that with you. The Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Brakes, Myers Creek. We'll be at the Wildcat tonight, by the way. Tonight, Wednesday, February 4th at 5:30 p.m. We'll be on the stage with West Genesee girls basketball, and Coach Mariah and her student athletes are going to be with me on stage celebrating West Genesee girls basketball, West Genesee athletics, West Genesee High School, and the community right there at the Wildcat in Camillus on 3680 Milton Avenue. So we'll see you on stage tonight. Brian's Landing, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Mon Paz, the snack capital of the world, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Pizza Man, Chick-fil-A DeWitt, Game Point Sports Complex, Avicoli's, Mother's Cupboard, and of course we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Binghamton University Bearcats. You'll find the Bearcats every single Tuesday during Bearcat time at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. The Bearcats student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni join the show to tell their stories individually and of the greater Binghamton family. You can find it all by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, find our Binghamton playlist. The Bearcats are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. And we also would like to give a special thanks to the Onondaga Community College Lasers for the work that we've gotten to do with them over the years and what we've gotten to do over these last 6 months of dedicating our time to Onondaga Community College. So we appreciate OCC. And of course, you can connect with them by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, find our OCC playlist of student athletes, coaches, and administration. And of course, you can go to onondagalazers.com for more information. So make sure you check them out today. And big time thanks to the wonderful conversation with Ginny Marasco, the head coach, the leader of competitive cheer at OCC. So with that being said, inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, thank you to Ginny Marasco of OCC Competitive Cheer as their coach. Many thanks to Dan Villari, as always, for NeapoliDANS, Episode 6, coming to you today about the Senior Bowl. And, of course, Thomas Pascariello of the League Winners, joining us to talk about his experience through the bowl season of the All-Star Games for college players that are going to the NFL Draft and his interviews with them, as well as just speaking about the media, giving you a look behind the curtain, and getting into the college football playoff. Although it's still at 12 teams, there are some changes. We discussed those changes, and we also played some rapid fire here together today. So I appreciate you for being with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. For Ginny, for Dan, for Thomas, and myself, Dan Tortora, a.k.a. DT. Find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. Go and see Great Lakes Honda City on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York, and get your new ride or your first ride today. And I look forward to you riding over to the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, tonight, Wednesday, February 4th at 5:30 p.m. to celebrate West Genesee, the entire community, the girls basketball team with their head coach and student athletes on stage with me for a live, engaging broadcast on site at the Wildcat, and of course to celebrate the Wildcats in general, the high school, and our overall community of West Genny. We look forward to seeing you there at the Wildcat tonight, Wednesday, February 4th at 5:30. And in the meantime, God bless, no stress, do your best. We'll talk soon.